This week's episode is brought to you by the legends over at Cayuga Broadheads. And this weekend, actually right now when you're listening to this episode, I should be out in the middle of a hunt chasing some reds, and I'm rolling with the Zots up front this weekend. So I go the 125 grain Zots when I'm out hunting with them. I'm really excited. What I like about them is the fact they're just so accurate. And then on top of that, they're also very easy to sharpen. If you're using the file setup that the boys recommend, it's quite simple to get them to kind of punching hairs very quickly. And I like that because I like to have the confidence in my gear being sharp when I'm out hunting, and especially for this weekend while I'm going out hunting reds, and my freezer is looking very empty and pretty sad right now. So I kind of need to get the job done. I'm really hoping to get the job done, so I'm not having to go back to buying meat. And so I'm relying on the Zots this weekend to get the job done. I'm very excited because I know I've done it before with them, and I know that they're trustworthy when it comes to it. So you guys can actually grab yourself a pack of Zots. You can grab yourself a kit from Cayuga Broadheads in general when you use the code BAB10. That's BAB10, all in caps locks, with the numbers 10 for 10, and that will get you 10% off of your next order at Cayuga Broadheads. In other news, this episode is brought to you by the legends over at Dog and Gun Coffee. And what I love about Dog and Gun, apart from obviously it tasting freaking fantastic, it's actually just the crew behind it. The team over there are absolutely amazing people. They're always up for a laugh, always up for a good adventure, and really great to talk to. And I'm very excited because in the coming few weeks, Rach, one of the owners, and myself are going to go and do a spearfishing course together. And I'm very excited. I'm sure she's probably going to take some coffee too, but I've already got my bags packed with lots of their preloaded drip filters ready to rumble for everyone on that course. And so I've pre-packed some Samba blend. I've also got some of the full send, and I know that that's going to keep us fueled for that weekend. And the cool thing is that setup itself, it means you can have great coffee wherever you go. Where we are going, there is full accommodation, but at the same time, I don't necessarily know if they're going to have good coffee on site. So the cool thing is that you can chuck that in your bag without it weighing a whole heap and weighing you down at all, and you've got good coffee for on the road. So it really is kind of coffee designed for adventure, for getting out, whether you're on the boat, whether you're out camping, whether you're out in the bush, and that's what I really love about it, and hence why I'm going to be taking it with me on this next trip. And you guys can do the same thing if you wanted to when you use the code Bowhunter. That's all in caps locks, Bowhunter, and that will get you $10 off of your next order at Dog and Gun Coffee.
Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Matty, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands, searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bow hunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bow hunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bow hunting.
Legend, what is up? You are in for a treat today. We are going the distance. This is the longest podcast I've ever done at Becoming a Bowhunter. And it's actually a freaking riveting story. I was honestly like, it's got some extreme highs, some extreme lows. Like the amount of stress that I had whilst listening to this at different times, the amount of like highs and almost like tears that brought to my eyes at times. Like it actually is very in depth. And the cool thing is with Grant Rand, and it's talking all about his recent trip over to Bulgaria, talking about the fallow that he took, and the extra hunting that they kind of tied on with the Eastern European boars, as well as the Mouflon, which is a sheep species, which we discuss a fair bit in detail there. So the podcast you're in for is about 4 hours, four and a bit hours. We cover a lot, pretty much the whole thing around hunting overseas. We cover costs. We really delve into like expectations that Grant had, as well as things that kind of played out, things that have changed since fellow Australians have been over bow hunting previously, and things that you should look out for if it's something that's on the cards for you to go overseas. And realistically, there's just a lot of insights, and it probably makes it a lot more accessible than what I ever thought it was, to be honest. We're kind of just discussing, I guess, the whole piece of going overseas, and obviously it is a bit of a gamble because bow hunting in itself is a gamble, but unpacking the adventures that were had for everyone on the trip and how magical that was in its own, kind of just puts an enlightened piece on it. I also thought that you were paying for animals even if you weren't necessarily getting the job done. I always knew there's trophy fees, but I wasn't sure what the payment versus when you actually get an animal, if you don't get an animal, what that looked like. And so there's a lot that we kind of unpack within that. We delve a lot into like the cultural side of it. There's translators and whatever else that the boys had to deal with, and pretty much I'm going to let Grant tell you the story, but all I'm getting at is that for the first hour probably we kind of really talk about the logistics side of going over and hunting. The hunting side of the story probably really starts around the hour mark, from memory, from doing it. So if you wanted to skip ahead at all, if you're not interested in going on one of these trips yourself, you just want to get to the gory, the juicy parts of this story, then head across. But if not, then I honestly think like listen to it from the start, because there is just so much insight, and might honestly shed a little bit of light on how easy it is to potentially make one of these hunts happen for yourself, even if it's like a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, doing something special for like a 40th or whatever it might be, 40th, 50th, 60th, etc. A milestone within your life. So yeah, with that being said, you're in for a treat, you're in for a long one, so I'm going to shut up. I'll let you guys sit back, relax, and enjoy. Good. Alrighty. Welcome back to Becoming a Bowhunter. Sitting here online, we wanted to do this one in person, but we have to roll with what we can do. And living in different states and a good 12-hour drive away, we had to jump on and do this one via... I'm using a new system, so it's not on Zoom, but essentially online. Let's just leave it at that. So, Grant, welcome back, mate. It's good to have you here.
Cheers, Matty, man. It's always a pleasure. Never a chore.
It's exactly right. And I mean, what else would you like to be doing with your Saturday night? I was pretty excited. It's kind of a nice Saturday night in. I thought I was going to be watching a movie, but we're having a podcast instead, and I'd probably much rather that, to be honest. Talking about hunting.
Oh, don't say that too loudly, mate. Otherwise, the missus might have your balls for ornament.
I just fall asleep in front of a movie, that's all.
Oh, mate, me too. Don't worry. That's probably what my Saturday night would have been like. Old Beck's just had an operation, so she's recovering from that. So, yeah, it would have been a pretty quiet night because, she'd probably fall asleep on the lounge by, I reckon, about 8 o'clock. So, and then I would have been sat there watching something and probably fallen asleep by 8:30. So,
mate, I don't know about you.
I
think you're probably much the same in the sense of like life in general is just go. That when you finally stop on the couch, that's when your head hits the pillow, pretty much. Like I stop on the couch and I watch a movie or something with the girls, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm down now.
Oh man, so if I stop doing, I sleep. Like perfect prime example. Flight to Bulgaria I was about 14 and a half hours. I probably slept for 16 of it. You can ask Corey for confirmation. Like I fell asleep before we even went off the tarmac.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, well, I mean, I said that from the get-go.
That's kind of like the anticipation of this podcast, right? Like I had lots of people tagging me and saying, "Hey, you're going to interview Grant about this one, about the hunt he's just been on." You put up a post and someone said, "Hey, Matty, can you make sure that you record this one?" I'm like, "Don't worry, we're already planning it," and I'm glad it's all happening. We've been able to jump on it pretty quickly, which is good because I think the further you get away from a hunt, obviously the more little small details you start to forget. And a lot of people kind of have, I think, great desires to go overseas and witness what the world has to offer, especially when it comes on the bow hunting front. And so, like, talking about Bulgaria today, but when did you start to think of like this could be a thing for me, like going to Bulgaria? Because was it kind of when Ben Solera started advertising it? Was it when the other boys started going across, or what sparked it?
So Bulgaria was never actually on the radar, I suppose you'd say. Me and a mate Ivan talked about going over and chasing fallow in Hungary years and years ago now. We never really did too much on it. We were at one of the like sporting shooters, like an expo type thing.
Yeah.
And there was a stand there with this just absolute giant fallow buck that had come from over there. And at the time, it was the weights freaking flies. The weights, like they scored it on the weight system of the antlers, not the actual like a Douglas score or an SCI. It's all based around weight and like a gold and a silver and a bronze class deer. And it was a bit of a weird concept at the time, and I wasn't that far into bow hunting. But yeah, it was sort of like, we got to go and do that one day because that thing is just an absolute beast. And then that sort of, it always played in my mind. And then you see the other boys go and do the trips over there, and like, Benny went over and shot, I think it still is the world record with a bow and arrow. At this exact same place at Student Clarinets, where we did our second stage of our hunt in Bulgaria. So he went and did that, and then like Robbie, James Doomsdus, Casey McCallum, who else? Jerry Redmond. There's a fair few boys from Australia that went over and did it sort of shortly after Benny did his. And that definitely got the blood pumping, and questions were asked. And this hunt event, like the layout for this hunt come around, it was me, Corey, and Tommy Pilo were hunting up at deer camp. Just would have been a midwinter hunt. We're chasing winter boars, and we literally sitting around the fire, which you know well. Some good stories come from that place.
Good place to be.
Good podcast too, actually. And we pretty much just went, let's do it. Let's go to Bulgaria.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like, as we're saying it, I'm flicking Benny messages going, right, how do we do this? Let's lock it in. We want to get, like, what dates do you think are the best dates? If we've got to push it back a year or whatever, or 2 years to get the prime dates, let's do it. And I think like that would have been like a weekend, so a Saturday, Sunday, or Friday night, Saturday night, we would have been up there doing that. I think Wednesday we were organising deposits.
Wow.
It just not here to fuck spiders, mate. We just
straight into it. That's awesome.
We were into it, and then one of the other fellas that come on the hunt with us, Matty Hare, he's always said, if you're going to do something big overseas, let me know. I'm in. I don't care what it is. I'm in.
That's awesome.
He just likes adventure. Like, I think 2 or 3 years ago, pre-COVID, he went and did the half Mount Everest climb.
Wow.
Which was a pretty
up to
cool.
base camp and back down or whatever.
Yeah, pretty cool feat. Yeah, that's it. So, and then we had 4 people there. Yeah, within a week of things starting to come together. And we went, well, let's try and throw some more into this hunt. Like, we're going the other side of the world. Let's throw some other species in. And I'd seen Ben had shot the Mouflon and a wild boar over there, and I was like, well,
Mouflon's the goats, right? Oh, are they counted as a goat, or are they a sheep?
So they're a sheep. They're part of the capra.
Okay.
No, capra is the goat.
Yep.
And I don't know the capra is your chamois. Benny Solaris is off chasing the capra. I think he's chasing 3 out of the 6 or 7 capra species now. So these guys are sheep. So they're part of the same family group as bighorn, Dale sheep, the other real big one, Baz shot one, Marco Polo, Aldad in Texas. So they're all part of that family there. They get the Mouflon on Hawaii as well. Yeah,
that's where I'd kind of heard about them previously on a guy. One of the previous podcasts I did with a guy who lived in Hawaii. I was just having a look. So wild sheep native to Cyprus, the Caspian region from the eastern Turkey, Armenian area, and Iran. So really kind of like Middle Eastern, which, I mean, realistically, when you look at where Bulgaria is, essentially...
It's not that far from it, because we were over there when all that shit went south. So that was interesting as well.
Which shit? The
Gaza, the Gaza Strip and the hummus and all of that stuff there.
Yeah.
So when we flew in, none of that was a thing. And when we flew out, they were all like... So, we landed over there, and there was one guy walking around with a AK-47 assault rifle, and the rest of them were just normal.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you've seen 3 or 4 security guards as you went through the airport. When we came back in to Sofia, every officer had an AK-47. There was, like, probably 15, 20 that we could see just from when we walked in the front door of the airport and just looked, and, they were just everywhere.
That's crazy. You guys were probably actually
one
closer.
Of the guys,
you were probably closer to that attack than we are right now, right? When you look at it on an actual map and actually figure out the sizing of where you guys were.
We're heaps closer.
You're like, yeah.
So, and then
crazy.
where we flew, so like the flight over from Sydney to Doha, Doha to Sofia, the flight home was Sofia, Doha, Doha. Doha is where they were evacuating everyone out of Israel.
Yeah.
So, but at the time we didn't know any of this because we'd literally just like come back in, like we had reception through Wi-Fi and stuff, but it was very basic.
Yeah.
And we're literally just jumping on at the end of the day, talk to the wife, talk to a couple of friends, and then boom, go to sleep, and just you live in the hunt the whole time you're there. So we weren't really looking into that, and then everyone's like, "Oh, but you got home? You got home?" Everyone's a bit worried, and we're like, "Yeah, sweet, we're home." And it wasn't until we got home that we realised, like, we're literally flying over these places.
Exactly.
Where, like our flight path goes over some of the where it's all going down. So
Insane.
That's pretty wild, but back alive, safe.
Yeah.
So
it's good.
But so we decided to add those additional animals on and do something different and try and jam it all into one hunt. So we're over there, which looking back at now probably wasn't the best idea because we're hunting those animals like outside of their prefer, like the better times to hunt them.
Okay, so essentially you've gone for the prime time for fallow, right? But not everything else.
Yeah. So our time was based around the prime time for the fallow, and then the mouflon and the boar was just an add-on. And Harry, he was he wanted to chase a red. He didn't really want to chase a boar or a mouflon. He was like, no, I'll chase a red over there. So it was the tail end of the red roar, but it worked out really well because the reds were still roaring while we got there. So he essentially got like a Bulgarian red deer hunt in the roar, like at the tail end of their roar.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I wish I had done the same thing now because, it was just a better time to hunt the reds. I actually seen more reds than what I did the other species that I was chasing.
Crazy.
So
hindsight, hey? It's always like... And so what, like, obviously the deal with that, you've already committed and you've already said this is what we're coming for, so there's no changing mid-hunt?
No, so we could change mid-hunt, but we're only there for 4 days. So, like, as you know, normally it takes a day or two to sort of get in the run of things and get the lay of it worked out and understand what's happening. So we sort of got to the midpoint and went, shit, like, did I stuff up here? Should I have just chased reds from the start? Oh, well, we're here now. Like, I'll stick to what I stuck to what I was going to do. Corey swapped up and went and chased a red deer for one of the days, so a morning and an afternoon chasing the reds. And Harry continued like from day dot to the end chasing reds, and he seen deer every day, had stalks every day, just didn't come together. Like just one of those things. So that's bow hunting, man. You got to be
definitely
sort
part of it,
prepared for failure. Yeah.
That's obviously a big part, right? And I think that's where people are probably maybe potentially a little bit, I mean, this is me definitely talking, like scared to invest that much money, which I don't necessarily know how much this trip cost you at all, and we'll get into that, but scared to invest that much knowing that you could come back empty-handed, like knowing that that's actually such a real piece of it. You're like, okay. And I think this is just where you just need to say, well, it doesn't matter the outcome because the adventure is what you're actually paying for. It doesn't matter what the hunt outcome is. Like, it's just a gamble you're going to take, and there's going to be a chance where you get to see some of the best animals you've ever seen in your life, right? And you're going to see just different countries. So it's investing in an adventure, and whatever the outcome is the outcome.
That's you nailed that like a split hole there. the adventure is what it's about. Like the highs and lows of it are crazy. Our first 2 days over there was pretty average. Just our expectations. It was a rude awakening. It was a rude shock to the system. There's a language barrier as well, but you gotta, like, I went into it with the attitude of, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So like the first thing I said was, this is what I want to try and get. I want to get a Mouflon and I want to try and get a boar. What's the best way for me to do that in 4 days? Like talking to Ben prior to it, he goes, your best option is going to be the high seat. So basically they have it's like a cubby house on stilts. And it's a point where they put feed out for the animals as well. In winter and the tougher times, that becomes a pretty imperative part of it, of keeping those animals alive and still there. So the Mouflon are native to the area, but not exactly that area. They're more suited to where the different country where the towns and cities are. So they've sort of been pushed out to these different areas. So their normal migration and what they do and what they move has been hindered by people and farming and stuff like that. Yeah, basically. So what they've done to help the species and keep it still there and keep it in its natural range is they supplement the food for them. So, you basically end up hunting over the spots where these things are getting fed every day or every second day, which for us as Aussies is such a foreign concept.
Definitely.
But for the Europeans, that's just standard. For Americans as well, it's just standard. You have a look, all those whitetails, they're all over either a food plot or a feeder, or your New Mexico stuff, hunting whitetail, mule deer, javelina, all that stuff down there in Mexico. All of that's done around based on a feeder of some sort. And I sort of went, well, what's the difference between going out west and chasing pigs and goats on a water source when that's the only water source for 10K? So you hunt that water source and you sit on that water and they come to you. It's not that much different when you open your mind and think about it to what they're doing here. They're just coming to a food source.
Definitely.
It's a man-made food source. I mean, most dams are man-made. So when you think about it in that.
Oh, and like you said, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? You're going to give yourself the best shot. That
was my attitude. From the get-go, as soon as I found out we were going there, that was the first thing. I asked my guide. So all of our guides were non-English speaking. They spoke a little bit.
How much? Was a conversation hard to have? Pretty much.
No, not even pidgin English. They were, hello, and just it was a lot of hand gestures,
a lot of smiles
and stuff like that. So smiles and stuff like that. So the guy that picked us up from the airport, Carlin, he speaks good English. You can have a full blown conversation with him. So we were asking him a lot of questions. From the airport, it's about a 3 and a bit hour drive from the airport to the first place we went, which was Kormashosh, which is one of the biggest.
First place being where you hunted fallow?
First place being where we hunted the Mouflon and the boars and the red deer.
Yeah.
So if I went back, I'd go back there to hunt the red deer because that was just epic. The red deer side of it was epic.
But go 2 weeks earlier.
Yeah, I'd probably go, a week or two earlier, try and time it for that prime red deer. So red deer over there can get very expensive, especially in the northern parts of Bulgaria. So we hunted, it was more southern side of Bulgaria. So they're not as big, they're bush heads basically, but it makes it a lot more affordable. Whereas some of those ones up in the northern regions, like to give you a bit of an idea on pricing for the red deer. So if you shoot a red deer that is greater than 10 kilos, your trophy fee is €6,700.
Okay, so
So
it's about,
6,700 euro.
it's about what, 30,
So
12,000 maybe?
nah,
Is it
not
double? Well, it's not quite.
nah.
I can bring up
It's a little bit less than double. So it's probably say 12. So probably 11,
I'll figure
11k,
it.
something like that.
What did you say it was?
But then-
67?
6,700 euro. You could do a quick.
Yeah, I'm on it now.
You're the computer man.
Yeah, we're converting. It is, 11,000. 11,057.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. That's still fresh in my head from when we were there.
Yeah.
But then once you go, so that's 10 kilos, and then every 10 grams heavier, it's €40 on top.
So
And
when
then
they
if it
when they
goes
measure
over
that,
to
do they measure the whole
yeah,
euro amount, or do they measure just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
So that would take
yeah. So that's
take this whole head.
a boiled skull.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whole skull, boiled, cleaned, vacuum, like fully cleaned, and then it sits for 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows the moisture to go out, and then they weigh it after 10 days, and that's your weight that they do it on. But then there's also a thing there, if it's over 230 CIC points, which is like a German measuring system.
Okay.
So a lot of the hunting in Bulgaria, I think the guy over there said about 85% of their clientele are from Germany.
Okay.
So a lot of it's based on German hunters, German traditions, and German ways of doing things, which is pretty cool because they have a really good tradition of hunting. Like they even have a hunting language, so sort of a bit like, Chinese, different places have their own twist on it.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
English is English, but we have an Australian spin on it. So they basically have a German language that is based around hunting.
Wow.
And the specific words that are just for like hunting and stuff like that. So we actually shared camp with two German guys, Stefan and Tom. So they were legends. And we sort of asked them a heap of questions and picked their brains, and
They were a bit more English speaking.
Yeah. One of them spoke really, really good English.
Mm-hmm.
One of them, crazy the people you meet. So one of them's a brain surgeon.
Oh.
So, and then the other one's like a foot, basically like a podiatrist, but like a fairly well respected podiatrist in his field and stuff like that. So, we got on real good with them.
That's cool.
And it was pretty cool. And they got there's a thing there. So it's wide man shale. And you say that like before a hunt, after a hunt, and before the hunt, it's like have a good hunt.
Mm-hmm.
And after the hunt, it's like, oh, it was a good hunt sort of thing.
Yeah.
And there's there's a song that they sing. So if someone has a successful thing, you like all around the dinner table, you sing the song, and then the person that was successful, I've half forgotten it. So I was going to try and do it, but I can't remember it, but yeah. And then the person that was successful says one thing, the other guys like sort of salute or toast to it.
Yeah.
That was a pretty cool thing.
That's
We've
cool.
got nothing like that in our hunting.
I mean, just in
like tradition.
I was going to say in our culture, right? Like, when this is not necessarily like we do have things within our culture, but when I was 19, we freshly just moved to Brisbane, and we had these Swedes come and live with us. These Swedish girls. That was we lived in a 4-bedroom house, and we had 5 Swedish girls come live with us. So put your imagination to it.
This isn't the same. This isn't the same story you told us at deer camp, because that'll have to get cut off. You'll need Patreon for that, mate.
And they literally just brought so much cold. Like, it was around Christmas time. It actually came and probably stayed with us around this time of year. Like, we're coming. What are we? 5th of November or something like
November.
that. Yeah, 5th of November tomorrow. And so coming into Christmas, they had like this whole lineup of things that they had as tradition that they introduced to us, which was just absolutely incredible. Like, it was so cool just kind of witnessing that. And really, I think it's maybe just because we're so young, right? These countries have been around for thousands of years. Like you go to Europe and you realize how young Australia is very quickly.
Yeah, so the hunting language, they said, dates back over 1,000 years.
It's insane.
Like, our country's not, like, as a civilization, we're not 200 years old sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're probably not even 150 years old. I can remember celebrating 100 years of Australia being Australia, basically, and then obviously we had the Aboriginals here prior.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how long they've been here, but yeah, essentially, like, Australia and our culture is, nothing in comparison. Like it's 10%. Like we're 10% into some of these other places. So
it's crazy.
And it was cool. It was cool because we got some sort of history lessons on Bulgaria while we were there, because all of the guys that were there that were English speaking are pretty like they like to share information about it and stuff like that. So yeah, you find out crazy things like, Bulgaria was majorly influenced by Russia for a big stage. Then it was majorly influenced by the Germans for a big stage.
I think between Hungary and Bulgaria, there was some mass wars as well, wasn't there? Like over trying to take over each other's lands.
Yeah, and stuff over there, like they still hate the other country for stuff that happened 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't directly affect them. It didn't affect their grandfather, their grandfather's 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 grandfather. But they still have this hatred. At one stage there, the Ottoman Empire, which is like that 300 movie and stuff like that around that time, Bulgaria got wiped off the map. It wasn't Bulgaria. And that was like, what would they say? Like, I can't remember, but it was like for like 100 years. It just wasn't a thing.
That's so crazy.
Like during that
almost
Ottoman
the time
Empire,
that Australia's been alive for, and it wasn't a thing.
Yeah, they literally just got like taken over by the Ottoman Empire and just didn't exist like as a thing. And yeah, and now they're it's one of the only countries in the world that's actually going backwards in its population. So like 10 years ago, it had 9 million people. Now it's only got like 6 million people. So it's actually like a regressing country.
Yeah.
And a lot of the young people are just moving away because they don't, I don't know, like it, like the politics. It's a fairly corrupt place as well, from sort of what we found out. And yeah, there's a lot of foreign interest and stuff like that in there. But yeah, it's pretty eye-opening to go and see all of that and experience all that. Definitely. And that's all part of the adventure.
Yeah, definitely.
So
that's one of the best parts, I reckon, whenever you go to a new country, just learning about the culture and seeing, just talking to some of the locals. Like I was over in Bahamas the same time you're over there, and we're in a resort. It's very uppity, it's very Americanized. But I just talked to all the locals who were all like the lifeguards and stuff in the pools. I'm like, hey, tell me about your life, and it was so cool just kind of get the inside scoop.
Well, you find out like in Australia how lucky we actually are.
100%, dude.
Like we are blessed as like in comparison to some of those things, and like work conditions and what they work for and what their like standard of living is. For them, like a good standard is our like poverty line almost.
Definitely, like their average hourly pay is $5.50 an hour, but they still pay the exact same amount that we do for petrol and whatever else. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, well, that was a similar thing there. Grog is so much cheaper overseas. We get gypped on that, man. Yeah. We get taxed. Old mate's excise tax that he imported is just absolute bullshit. But it's a small price to pay for all of the benefits we have and stuff like that. And even the hunting opportunities here compared to over there is like we're talking to the guys and just running through like what we're used to. And that was one of the big shocks because what we're used to and what we normally experience and stuff like that, like our normal hunting year is 10 years of hunting for them.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Like it's crazy. Like the opportunities we get, the amount of animals we can take, all of that stuff there. Like their rules, their game management, all of that stuff over there is so much. It's good, but it's also a pain in the ass.
Definitely. It's obviously it's regulated for a reason. And I would be intrigued if we were to bring anything like that in. Like they probably wouldn't have to regulate it for a while because we've got such a burden of animals, as they'd call it, right? Like we're overpopulated with them right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of animals. Like there'd be some benefits to implementing a system into Australia, and it's probably an unpopular opinion, but if there's a system in place and there's money generated off it, politicians and stuff like that would understand how big a business hunting potentially could be.
Definitely.
It'd also be an issue because there'd definitely be some corrupt shit going on and some dodgy backhand deals and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it'd cement the future of hunting for us as opposed to just what we're doing now. If the government kill all the ferals and there's no ferals left, there's no hunting.
Exactly.
Hunting here is finished. So everyone that wants to just whack and stack and remove absolutely everything from the landscape, it's counterproductive in the long run, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
But that's unpopular opinion.
Yeah, like obviously we're playing a bit of Russian roulette right now because there is the government trying to talk about completely wiping out our species. I was definitely sharing the same. I had a lot of the same conversations because I met a lot of dudes from America that were in Bahamas at the same time. It's kind of like a very popular resort to go to for a lot of the area over there. And we were there for a conference for my wife's work. And so like there was people from everywhere, and anyone who's like, yeah, we're from the Midwest. I was like, oh, I got a little visitor. Hello. I was like, oh, really? Do you hunt? Like first question off the bat. And they're like, yep. It was good. We had some great conversations. But yeah, they were also just like very fascinated by the fact that we can hunt every day and we can hunt whatever we wanted. There was no cap on any sort of animal. They were like, what is this?
Yeah, so like where we were, they get an allocation for certain species, and then they also impose their own sort of like internal cap on them, so it's
internal within the hunting lodge or internal within government.
Yeah, so basically the first place we went to, Cormisosh, it's split owned, so it's part owned by a government, part owned and managed by a private individual or person. So basically, yeah, they still have to run. So over there, even if you own your own farm and your own land, you can't hunt on it.
Huh.
So all the land gets allocated to either these private, like private/government wildlife zones or wildlife reserves, essentially, like basically a national park.
Yeah,
because there's, like, we're driving, and on the Saturday and Sunday there was just people everywhere, like coming in for day hikes, for camping. One of the places we hunt was near like a really old monastery over there. So one of the days we hunted, there's just like, we're driving down the road and there's just all these people that park and hike up to see this old, 5,000-year-old monastery.
How close? Like,
and stuff like that. I don't know, 2 kilometres as a crow flies.
Yeah, wow.
Like from where we were and stuff like that. So, so that was crazy to see. Like, you're driving up a track all geared up, ready to go, and there's just a group of people out, like a family, wife, 2 kids, just hiking along this road, and they just move to the side, and the car drives past, and they just wave, and it's just a normal thing. Like, but so there's the private sectors and stuff like that, and then there is hunting clubs. So every town or village is allocated an area as part of a hunting club.
That's cool. And then like outsiders can't use that. That's just that city or just that town.
Basically, yeah, you have to be a member of that hunting club to hunt in that area. I think there's a way for those guys there to like sort of swap hunts between hunting clubs and stuff like that. Like you can bring a guest, and it's a vice versa thing. But we didn't get too far into it. But yeah, like because we were asking, we're like, all righto, let's just like Callan, the guy that drove us out to Cormasosh, we said, righto, let's just say you own 10,000 acres and we become really good friends with you, and we say every year, hey, we want to come back and hunt your place. You know. He goes, no, can't do it, can't work. So all the trophy fees are a government set trophy fee.
Oh wow!
So even like
so
for
who
those
actually
guys
takes the money? The government takes the money then, or the
so the government takes the money.
Huh.
So, so the second place we went, Student Clarinets. It's a privately, so it's the government own the land, but they lease it to, it's like the Bulgarian hunting, like basically the Bulgarian hunting community as a whole.
Yeah, wow.
That's their, so like their licensing fees and stuff go together to keep this place and manage it and stuff like that. And there's certain times of the year that like they're allowed to go there and hunt and stuff like that. Whether it be by a permit or an allocation, or if you're mates with one of the guides or operators there, I'm sure you get fast tracked to the front of the line.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that going on at both places we went to, but it's it's no different to here if you've got access to a block and the farmer's son wants to go in a certain paddock and
definitely
you're there at the same time. Who's getting preference. And
yes,
it's the same sort of thing over there. So we got to see that experience while we were there, and that was cool. We met some other guys. So bow hunting in Bulgaria is actually, it was up until the last 12 months illegal for a Bulgarian to do.
So they would still let other people come in. So when, for instance, Benny shot his... So international bow hunters can hunt over there with a bow and arrow. So bizarre. I guess
but
it's
Bulgarian citizens couldn't do it just because I think a bit of an ethics thing, and just people don't understand it. And like even the first place we went to at Cormasosh, the guys there didn't know we were bow hunters. And
it's crazy.
Like in the last, like some of the guys had been there. So like my guide Raicho, I think they were saying like he's been there for 37 years or something like that. And he's guided 2 other bow hunters in that whole time over there.
That is hectic.
In 37 years. So
this is the Boar and Mouflon place.
Yeah. And I would say the red deer place, because if I was going to go back to Cormasosh, I'd go there, chase reds.
That's crazy though. Like even if they've got good reds, like let's stop and talk about the reds real quick. Like in regards to them being bush heads.
So not huge, like in weight class. And the other thing too, the deer in Bulgaria weigh less than our deer here. So I've got deer here at home that I haven't actually weighed them yet, but it's something that's on my list of things to do. I reckon I've shot deer here that are visually and physically smaller, but way more than the big ones that we shot over there.
In regards to the Euro mount, way more.
The density.
Yes.
So, and even snapped antlers and stuff like that is such a common thing over there, like broken points and stuff. And the fallow deer, their antlers, like Corey found a shitload of broken ones on the particular place he was hunting. Like he probably had a 20-litre bucket full of snap bits of antler after his, like all of his hunts together collectively was just bringing them back. And we're looking at it, and it's like an Aero or a crunchy chocolate.
Yeah.
So the outside is solid, the inside's just like a sponge.
Wow.
So
that's interesting.
even when we're like back at boiling them out, caping it out, and measuring the heads, like when you get the antlers and sort of put a bit of squeeze and pressure on them, you get a bit scared that they're going to break or snap.
No way.
Like there's a lot of flex and movement in them, and
must have been down to diet, here, right? Like whatever they're eating there.
Well, whether it's a diet thing, whether it's like a climate thing, whether it's a temperature thing, like maybe like you got to think our our deer are in velvet at the hottest time of the year. We're getting 45-degree days in some spots. Whether it's they bake differently or they harden or temper differently or something like that. I'd love, if there's anyone out there that knows and understands this, it'd be awesome to wrap my head around, because it was cool, because I love fallow deer. They're my jam. I love learning everything I can about them and talking to the guys over there that have been looking after, and their job basically 365 days of the year is to manage the premier fallow herd of Bulgaria.
Yeah, wow.
And my guide Anton's been there for 5 or 6 years or something like that, and that's just purely for that long, is just managing a fallow deer herd. So
that's cool.
Yeah, asking questions about and they're very picky over there. So they don't call them a cull head; it's a selection. But we can get into that later. But yeah, they are fussy as over there. Like if it's not perfectly symmetrical, it has everything. They actually don't care about guard tines over there, because they use that CIC system to score. The guard tines don't actually play a major part in it, whereas our Douglas, guard tines are what can make and break a fallow. Whereas their system, it has it encapsulates every part of the animal. So the antlers, the size, the weight, the actual look of them, the aesthetics of the antler. So if you shoot a really pretty deer, you get bonus points on it. It's a weird system. I don't entirely understand it, but I want to learn more about it, because
it sounds like a bodybuilding
it goes
comp.
up to,
in the sense of it's almost what's it? Well, it's
but
almost
in a
selective.
bodybuilding,
It's whoever.
But in a body, yeah, in your bodybuilding comp, if you've got 200 points as your maximum, could you score 250 points in that?
No, not at all. I was just also meaning
selective
in the sense of if someone thinks it looks pretty, essentially they can vote for it and say, oh, that's a good one then.
Can I say hello? Oh, I'm sorry, the little one's just popped in.
Another little visitor.
You say, hey.
Hiya.
You say, what's doing?
What's doing?
Just recording.
All right. Go back to bed. Go back see Mum.
Sneaky little adventurers. We're full of them. Bye.
Oh. She's just hiding down there.
Oh,
but yeah. So even the coat and the skin on the animal comes into part of the scoring.
Yeah, that's
them.
interesting.
So they take it's a very, very good thing there. But we got sidetracked, and you're asking about the red. So where we were, they sort of said a good red in that area is probably around 6 kilos, which is €1,500 as a trophy fee. In comparison to the other, once they start going up, they really get it. So if you go to the northern parts of Bulgaria, they're shooting 12, 13 kilo red stags. So you're potentially looking at 50K as a trophy fee.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they get up to that, and once they go over a certain size in that score, they get there's a 10% surcharge on it as well. So yeah, so on top of it, you get that once, if it's a really good animal, they slap you with an extra because it's so huge.
Yeah.
So it's a wild, it's a pretty crazy setup. But as a thing from an Aussie going over there to hunt, I 100% would go back to Cormasosh to chase the reds, because it's all spot and stalk. Or most of the red hunting is spot and stalk.
Yep.
You can elect to do it from a high seat, which is basically where they put a food source out. So I think for one of the areas there, they used a lot of apples.
Okay.
Because the reds like apples, but also the bears like apples.
Cool. What do they have?
So yeah,
brown
there's a
and
lot
black?
of bear. brown bears.
Brown bears. Oof.
So there's a heap of brown bears there. We've seen shit everywhere.
Didn't
I
actually see
had
any.
a mother. No, so I had a mother and 2 cubs about 60 meters from me in one of the high hides.
Yep.
And like the particular hide, so the high hides are built for shooting built for shooting out of with a rifle, not for a bow.
Yes.
Some of them, the window's big enough that you can sort of weird yourself into a spot where you can shoot through it. But one of the ones I went to, you literally couldn't. So I was on the steps, like halfway down the steps, and there's sow and 2 cubs, 60 meters away.
Were you shitting yourself?
Which is a pretty. No, I wasn't actually. I wasn't that nervous about them. It was just a cool experience. Like, we'd seen bear shit a few places. We'd gone and walked and looking for Mouflon and stuff like that. So the first time that we seen fresh bear shit and fresh bear tracks, I was really on edge. Mm-hmm. Sort of like, fuck, what have I got myself into? Like, where I'm on the other side of the world with a non-English speaking guide. There's fresh bear shit here. Like, yeah, if this shit goes south, is he, old mate's just going to yell at me in his language. I'm not going to have any idea what's happening.
Push you to the bear and run away. And
basically, look, the guides all carry a rifle anyway for the wolves and the bears.
Yeah.
As a bit of a thing. So the bears are protected over there. They weren't going back in time. That was like you get allocated tags for them. But yeah, the numbers dropped really low. They put in a protection thing on it, and yeah, now the bear numbers are thriving and just going through the roof. Very little human bear interaction because a lot of the bear populations are in low density human population areas.
Yep.
I think the guy said like in the last 5 years they've had one bear attack on a person and it wasn't fatal.
That's crazy. So, that's pretty good numbers.
Really good numbers, but I think it also comes like the bears still have the fear of human because for all those years they were pursued and hunted. Like the wolves over there, they said your chances of seeing a wolf in daylight hours are like almost non-existent. And if you do, it'll be 2 or 3 ridges across, and you'll catch a fleeting glimpse of it. Because they're actively hunted all the time, and like they shoot wolves over there and stuff like that. And the guys that have been there for years have got 27 wolves, and that's a massive number.
Yeah, wow.
And they might have put 37 years of hunting in to shoot 27 wolves in that time frame. So
gun shooting too, right? Or all rifle shot.
Shooting. So we're asking them about like bow shot wolves over there, and I think there's been one, and it was a guy from France, and it wasn't an intended hunt. It was just he was stalking in on one particular thing, and the wolf just literally walked in front of him, basically hunting the same thing he was, and he just whack.
Wow.
Robbie Austin nearly shot one when he was over there at Student Clarinets. So they told us that the wolves will hang around the rut area, which is a lek. They'll hang out on the fringes of that because there may be like an injured buck from fighting or something like that. It might be, wounded or limping or fatally injured, and they just come in and swoop in and pick up that. So, that's a pretty crazy thing to think of. So we were not actively hunting wolves, but if one popped up, we're going to hunt it like 100%. We were going to chase a wolf.
Yeah.
Even, if the opportunity was there, we were full, like all of us were pretty much full send on that wolf hunt. If the opportunity arose. But yeah, going back to that first place that we hunted, awesome red deer. like what you think is you could probably shoot a better red deer in Australia, but the experience over there of going on to you're hunting at 1,600 meters elevation. You get up on these high things and you're up there and you can hear 7 or 8 different stags roaring and carrying on. Where Matt was, like he said, at some points, you could see 6 different stags all bellowing.
That's sick.
In that same meadow, and the girls are moving all over the place, and the boys are like, it was the tail end of the rut, so they'd finished fighting and they're basically just picking up stragglers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like even the amount of places you'd walk and you just all of a sudden go, "Ooh, there's a red stag."
Reds. Yeah.
There's been a red stag here, and it's weird over there. They're the opposite. So they, I'm not sure what it's like where I hunt and where I've hunted the reds before. They normally go down low of an evening and then they go back up to the cover of the hills in the afternoon. Whereas over there, they go to the very top of the hill of a night, and then of a day they drop down into the valleys and the catchments and hide in the valleys. So. Yeah, it's a different dynamic to what we're used to, which was a strange thing.
Definitely.
To wrap your head around. But yeah, their hills go up to the top and then plateau out, and they're big open plateaus on top. I'm sure we have country here like that. I've never really hunted much of it like that. But normally, we go sort of into the hills, and the higher you go, the thicker and denser it gets.
Definitely.
Whereas there, the bottoms were more thick and dense
like a
than the
tabletop.
tops.
Yep.
So and then you'd have different benches and different spots at certain elevations where they, plateau and bench out and stuff like that, which we have here. But yeah, they do the complete opposite. Sun comes up and they start moving down the hill rather than going up, and just crazy.
Were the fallow where you hunted fallow, were they the same elevation? I wonder if that's got anything to do with the brittleness of the antlers. No.
So the fallow were at a lower elevation.
There you go. Flawed my system.
I think they were about 600 meters.
Yep.
Elevation, because that was something that we asked, and then I looked back and went, well, where we hunt them around home is between 400 and 600 meters.
Yeah.
And over there it was the same thing, where the river or the lake and the river and all that was, that elevation was 350, 400 meters, and then we'd drive up these hills and get up to elevation of sort of 650. Some spots might have been 700 meters, but the fallow over there is just absolute crazy. It's just, if you like fallow deer hunting, it's a bucket list item, just to go and experience it. Sure, you can, so we had a shit run on the fact that they've been in a drought over there for the last 2 years. So all of the heads were smaller than what they've been in past years. There've been rules put in place from when the last Aussies went over to when we went, which weren't passed on until we sort of got there and in the midst of it.
What were the rules?
So there's we'll get to that after. We'll go back. We'll just go more so a hunt recap from the start, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Yeah, that sounds good. So let's say you've done 14-hour flight to, what did you say? You went 14 hours from Sydney to Doha, or?
So 14 and a half from Sydney to Doha, and then we had a 45-minute layover in Doha.
Yep.
And our airport's something else, so they've got train stations inside the airport.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's got an A, B, C, D terminal, and I think each of those has 93 gates on it, so you're just shy of 400 gates.
Yeah.
So in comparison, Sydney Airport's 63 gates. So Brisbane would probably be, 35, 40 gates in total.
Yeah.
Maybe not even. So it just, yeah, it's crazy. Like
next level.
yeah, that is a crazy place.
It's such a crossover
and it's
point,
just in
right?
the middle
like they're Abu Dhabi and I think Singapore are like the three main parts where people stop on the way through to everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like, yeah, just like crazy. Absolutely fucking crazy. Those Indian Arabs, whatever they are, the oil tycoon people.
The amount of money they have is just insane.
Oh, the money they have, but like just the vision and what they wanted it to look like, it's just stupid. Like it's just, yeah. You know, the guys building it have got that sort of money that they don't know how much money they have. They just know that they can't spend it in their lifetime no matter what they do.
Is that the airport that has the like 3-story teddy bear in it? Did you see that at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't see it, but like,
it is, yeah.
I mean,
I saw it when I was there.
So the base level you walk around and then you go up the escalator and the train runs around the top of it, like on the second or the third level. And then when you get to these multiple points for the gates, there's 3 levels of where all the different gates are. So like gates 1 to 10 are on the third level, gates 10 to 60 are in the second, and then the other ones are on the ground floor. And even then, like we got to our gate, checked in, do the like security thing again, and then you go out and hop in a bus and go on a 15-minute bus ride on the tarmac to the plane. Like it's just, yeah,
it's crazy.
Ridiculous.
It is, yeah.
So, like the plane we flew over on was the A380 or whatever it is, the Airbus. Like it's a big ass plane. So it directly pulls up and docks at the airport, and you directly go on and off the plane, like via the terminal gate there. But then the one from Doha to Sofia and Sofia back is a smaller plane. So yeah, you bus ride out to wherever the hell it is, jump on this plane, take off, and yeah. And then Sofia Airport is
like to Sofia. Was that busy?
Yeah. All 4 flights, like our 2 flights over, our 2 flights back were booked. Like there was no spare seats. Like everything was pretty chaotic. And then Sofia Airport's fairly basic. Like going through customs and stuff was easy. Bags were there. It was all straightforward. We got stitched up by a cab driver. Like where we were staying, because we landed at 1:30 in the afternoon over there, and we were getting picked up the next morning at 8 or 9 a.m. So me and Corey flew over together, like from Sydney. We flew together, and then Matty Hare was coming via Singapore, I think, or Korea or somewhere over there. Anyway, his flights got mucked around, and he's supposed to get there at 8 p.m. that night, and he didn't get there until like 7:30 or 8 o'clock or 8:30 the next day.
No way.
So we had to like make changes on the fly. Yeah, one of his flights got delayed, and then the next he missed his connecting flight, so then had to get it's like a shit fight. So we ended up getting picked up from the hotel, going back to the airport to pick Matt up, and then driving out to Kormasosh.
That's lucky.
And then like on the drive, planned out all right. Like we in communication with so WhatsApp is a necessity if you're going over there. And we basically just we're in a group chat with Benny, us 3, and then the representative for the hunting mob over there, Carlin, or Callan. And so we were just talking to him and said, hey, we got old mate, these flights have been delayed. This is what it is. You're picking us up at 8. He should be in at like 20 past 8. It's a 10-minute drive back to the airport. Yep, sweet, no dramas. So did that, went back, picked him up at the airport, went on our way, did a little stop at like the European version of Aldi, like a Liddell.
Yeah.
And just got a few toothpaste and a couple of little things that you'd either forgotten or just overlooked in the packing process.
Wait, no, what was the taxi stuff over?
Oh, so Our hotel was probably 1.5 kilometres from the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And we're there, and old mate come up and he goes, "Oh, you guys looking for a taxi?" We're like, yeah. And he goes, "Oh, be careful of the yellow ones. They're dodgy. They'll charge you too much." Because we're a certified union taxi. We just charge a fixed price for anywhere within the city of Sofia.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, "Oh, sweet. No dramas. What is it?" He's like, "Oh, €16. And we're like, "Oh," not thinking that's like $30 or $32 or something like that. And we're just like, sweet as, man. Let's go. This is where we're going. You know it? Yep. Mind you, taxi driver was like 76 years old, and you wouldn't have picked him as a day over 60.
Yep.
Which is pretty crazy. But so we jump in, get there, get dropped off, do all that. We didn't know we got stitched up until later in the piece.
Mm-hmm.
So got there, checked in the hotel, did all that. Had a few drinks at the hotel in very quick succession and got a bit tipsy. A bit of first night fever.
Yep.
And then, the next morning, picked up Matty, went out, stopped there, got some booze and stuff like that, which is so much cheaper over there than what it is here because of the tax differentials. Like I think a bottle of... I got a bottle of Captain Morgan, and I think it was 21 leather, which works out to be about $20 Australian.
Wow. That's hectic.
And the other bottle of rum I brought was like a Bulgarian domestic spirit,
mm-hmm.
and that was another bottle of rum, and it was $6.
Holy hell!
for a 700 ml, 40%, like. Was no Bundy rum. I'll put that out there. It was definitely no Bundy rum, but it was drinkable with Coke.
Yeah.
And then so we got out there. We got to the place, sort of linked up with our guides. The first hunt we did, there was no translator or no English to Bulgarian changeover, so it was pretty much just
Follow me. Let's go.
One of the guys, one of the other guys, Stefan, he manages the lodge,
mm-hmm.
the lodge and the food. Oh,
incredible.
The lodge to die for. Like you've got your own ensuite, your own room, three course meals 3 times a day. Like, I probably put 6 to 8 kilos on in Bulgaria because you like, we had to tell, when the translator got there, we had to be like, "Hey, can you tell her to like drop the portion size a bit?" So instead of getting 4 pork chops, we got 3 pork chops. Like,
wow.
it was just crazy. Like, you eat, and the accommodation inside of it is like a king.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous. Like I've had worse feeds at restaurants here that you pay fucking $300 for a feed for you and your wife sort of thing. And over there just normal. Yeah, like this, not a commercial, like it's just a house, just a normal kitchen and stuff like that. And they're just producing these 3-course meals that are fit for a king. And like they were cooking for 5, 6 of us.
That's awesome.
So, and themselves. So like there's 8, like they're cooking meals for 8 people. Like I don't know. I don't think they were eating the exact same meals we were because I don't know where the hell they kept all that food. There must be like a big underground basement or something like that because the 2 fridges they had could not have concealed all of that food. There had to be a hidden dungeon with a 40-foot container cool room hidden somewhere. But that side of it, man, just absolutely incredible.
And like, just do they have any like traditional dishes that they did for you or anything like that?
Yeah, so we had a few. So there's a lot of like stews, and the person to talk to about the food was Corey because that was one of his highlights for the whole thing was the food. He was just all over it. He loved it.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of like hearty meals.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of meat and veg, like you don't eat anything processed. like the sauces and stuff, they make their own sauces and chutneys and jams, and
That's awesome.
yeah, so it was really cool in that sense there. And we had a few like traditional, like Bulgarian, that sort of greasy Turkish, Bulgarian, that type of, I don't know, meal type, you would say. So that was cool. And then the lodge itself is like this big, beautiful, traditional timber, like a big table in the middle with all the seats around it for everyone to sit in. Around the edge is like
That's cool.
a continuous lounge chair with like animal furs all over it.
No way.
All
local animals?
I'm presuming local or not too far away, but and then like a few trophies up on the wall. There's a full body mount capercaillie, which is like a almost like a big chickeny type bird. You're going to Google the capercaillie now?
I am, yeah.
So it's a cool, like I only know about it because years ago when I went to Scotland, it was a big thing there to see the capercaillies do their like mating season dance, and they put on a pretty cool show and carry on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so there's a full body mount one of them there, which is pretty cool, and they're not that common a thing. So like that particular place gets allocated one capercaillie tag a year.
Yeah, wow. How big are they?
So it's a pretty, I don't know, 7 to 10 kilos, I'm guessing, as a like.
Kind of looks like an interesting turkey.
It's a big ass chicken. But yeah, so they had that there in there, and then out the front, like at the door you walk into, there's a big red stag Euro mount that you walk under, and it's a culture rich in hunting.
Yeah,
like I think old mate said 60% of the male population in Bulgaria hunt. Like, so it's a crazy number of people that hunt.
Yeah.
Most of their hunting over there is either done like that over the food piles or driven hunts.
Okay.
And they're only allowed to hunt Saturday and Sunday.
Wow.
So
because of
no
obviously
other times.
just what they set in place. But I wonder if that comes from like religious backgrounds or something like that. I know in parts of America you can't hunt on Sundays because it's the day of the Lord, right?
Yeah, okay, that's cool. No, I don't know the entirety of it, but we sort of caught on that. So let's say you owned a farm, and it was the hunting club had a section of that farm was allocated to them.
Yep.
So you basically have to leave that area in a position for the weekend that they can hunt through there without messing up your
crop,
like your business. So if you've got livestock or something in there, you've got to move them out for that window. So I think that might have something to do with it as well.
Okay. Logistical procedures.
Yeah. So, and then like first afternoon, went out with my guide Raicho. We drove up to the high seat thing. Pretty much jumped up in the high seat and straight away Mouflon came in and pigs came in.
No way.
And I was like, I'm just going, fuck yeah, how good's this? Like, first afternoon, I'm going to get this done because these pigs that come in were 80 to 100 kilo pigs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, before I got my knockies up, I'm just going, there's one of me boars. Yeah. Like, how good's this going to be? And, I'm sort of asking him, and he's giving me like the signal, like baby, like little, and I'm like,
for 100 kilo
boar, huge, man.
Yeah, wow.
Like they're cracking. Like there's 5 or 6, 80 to 100 kilo boars between 20 and 40 meters in front of me around this feeding area, and then like all the Mouflon were just mamas and bubbas. I was like, yeah, there's nothing there I want to shoot. Like, that's not of any interest. And then just, sort of sat there until dark and nothing else come in. So it's pretty common over there for the big boars to come in right on dark or after dark.
Yeah, because you guys had to buy
it's pretty
torch
uncommon.
setup, right?
What's that?
It
Sorry.
was advised that you'd buy as like a torch setup to have on your bows.
Yeah. Benny told us to like get a torch and set it up so you're comfortable and confident shooting with it. Because he said for those big boars, he goes, they turn up, you know, they'll come in right as the sun's going down. So yeah, we had that set up there and whatnot, but yeah, we sort of waited until it got dark and then went back and caught up with everyone. And I was on a high. Corey was on a low Corey was on a half high because they spooked a couple of Mouflon that ran out and pulled up at 40. He had an arrow on and was couldn't get an opportunity at them, just the location and where they stopped and stuff like that. So he come back and he was in good spirits, and Matty went up and seen red deer. So like we all come back and had a pretty good first afternoon. Obviously the language barrier was a bit of a shitter, like because we couldn't communicate and understand. It's sort of a lot of like shirt grabbing and pointing and no and yes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And then as time progressed, like you sort of get to understand them a bit better and you learn a bit more and whatnot. So that part of it did get easier. But then that night our translator turned up, a Senna, which was a godsend. So we go away, you bastards. Yeah, that made life heaps easier then because we could have, like prior to a hunt, we could say, hey, this is what's the plan today? What are we doing? This is what we want, blah, 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 blah.
So one translator for the whole camp?
Basically, yeah, one translator for the whole camp. And then there was another guy there, Vlad, who basically is taking over Raicho's, because my guide Raicho's at the tail end of his thing. Like he might be another year and he goes into retirement. So the other guy, Vlad, who speaks good English, sort of come in and was just sort of either taking turns or the two of them were coming out with me, and he's learning off Raicho. But then it was also good to have he could translate on the fly. So I was cheering because I had
make a world difference.
Yeah, like I had a translator and I could ask a heap of questions and learn a heap, whereas the other boys didn't have that, so they were a bit shitty. Corey went and did the same walk, I think, that morning and that afternoon again, and like they just walked the exact same spot.
Yeah, wow.
And then it was at that point that we worked out. So the way that it works over there in that area is each of the guides has an area or a territory. And they hunt that same area or territory. And like through the translator, Corey's guide was saying, there's a good Mouflon here. We're going to keep going back in that same spot looking for it. You know, that's why we're doing the same thing again and again and again. And like for us, it's weird because, you know, we don't keep going back to the same spot time and time and time again. Whereas over there, they're not that fussed because, like I was saying before, there's all those people that walk through on weekends to those
monasteries and whatever else.
Hiking destinations, rock formations. Like it's no different to a national park, like a normal national park here, where people go in and walk and do their thing, or drive up tracks and just go and explore, sort of thing. So I don't think the scent was that, like, because I watched my guys like walk out onto this like feeding area because it's sort of barren from where they throw corn and stuff out, and walked out there and walked back, and within 10 minutes there was animals walking straight over where they'd just walked.
No way.
And I'm like, that just doesn't happen. So
wait, was there
straight
a lot
away
of food for them?
No, not really. Like they throw out like a 20-litre bucket, like 2 20-litre buckets worth of sort of corn. Once a day.
Yeah.
So like it's not
heaps.
Like at some stages there you could see like 50 animals on these things, and a lot of them were just younger animals.
Yeah.
or females and babies. Like you could have 2 or 3 sows come in with 10 piglets each. The other crazy thing, their pigs over there don't breed like ours, so they breed once a year.
What?
Yeah, because of the seasons and because they have such a harsh winter over there, like they literally breed, one cycle a year.
Is gestation longer or anything like that? Like what stops them from going into heat and whatever else?
Yeah, the season, because for 3 months of the year it's like heavy snow, non-accessible. Like, they lose a lot of animals to the snow over there.
What sort of temperatures
I was
does it
saying
get to?
one particular minus 30.
Oh gosh!
So, like that's a harsh winter. But he said one year there they had like a bachelor mob of male Mouflon. Their balls were frozen to the ground.
What a horrible way to go. That's wrong.
No, so they went up and like chipped it off and picked them up and like carried them, put them in the utes, took them back to a barn, and tried to bring them back, but they died. Like their conditions were that low.
Yeah, wow.
And he said other places where they've had like a bachelor mob of like 20 red stags, just all frozen.
No way.
So as the snow and the ice melts, there's just all these antlers sticking out of the grass on these meadowy areas.
That's insane.
And then they go and investigate, and they'll like just a whole herd that's been caught out in a blizzard or something like that. As just they've just all been caught off guard, and
so obviously
20 out
that's
in
like
one.
that's a bit of a rarity, right? Because you'd expect that these animals would they've selected this area to grow, so they'd be used to it to some extent. But obviously something like that is a bit more of a rare occurrence.
Yeah, so that's not like an every year thing. The one with the Mouflon happened like 2 or 3 years ago.
Wow.
Where they lost, like he said, they probably lost 50% of their mature males in that season.
Crazy.
Just to conditions.
Yeah.
So that was another sort of bit of a dampener. And then the density, like the game density of animals isn't what we expected.
Mm-hmm. Were you told anything in advance to like think this?
No, and we never asked. You just expect you going to the other side of the world. Like my expectation, and I presume the boys' expectation was, we'd at least see and be able to stalk or have an opportunity on one mature animal, a day sort of thing.
Which I don't think is unfair. I mean,
no, and that's like I wasn't expecting to go and see 300 of them sitting on a bench and just go, I want number 276 in the middle sort of thing.
Yeah.
You're not expecting it to be a walk in the park, but I didn't see a mature Mouflon that was of age to be like in a class that we could hunt and shoot until day 3.
Yeah, wow.
So like that part was a bit of an eye-opener, and then we found out that they're just about to go into their rut. So they rut sort of now, like in November. They rut. So they're showing me photos of places we were where there's 12 mature ones out on a bench a week before. Like you can see the timestamp on it, and it's just, he goes, if you come here looking for red deer, he goes, we wouldn't see all these red deer. We'd just be seeing Mouflon. And he goes, if you come here to hunt a Mouflon, you're going to see red deer. He goes, that's just that's just the way the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. And like, I can agree with that. I can do that because I've been to places before, a week before, and seen all these critters and gone, sweet, I'm going to bring the old boy back next weekend. We're going to get that deer or whatever it was. And then you get there the next weekend and it's a ghost town. You're going,
I swear they were here.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, I had photos of them, or videos of them. And like these guys are showing me the videos and stuff with a timestamp. And one cool thing they do over there is they take a lot of photos of all the animals when they see them. And it's pretty well documented, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. Maybe not formal documentation, but between the guides and stuff, they all talk and they've got an idea of what's
managing
there,
a herd, right?
Yeah, well, that's how they like allocated it with each of our guides, because we got there and Corey goes, "I want to hunt a wolf. That's my number one. I want to go somewhere and try and hunt a wolf. I also want to Mouflon on a boar, but he goes, the wolf is my number one." So he got linked up with the guide's name was Zero, I think. Let me just double check me. I wrote this stuff down because I knew I'd forget it.
Definitely. Smart play.
Yeah, Zero. So that was Corey's guide, and he shot like 47 wolves in the last 20 odd years up there. So he's the wolf man.
Yeah.
And then we meet him, and he's got a camo shirt, and in the middle of it, it's got like a wolf in the camouflage. And we're just like, we're going, you two match made in heaven, go and kiss, like, get out of here. And then, yeah, my guide, he'd been there for forever because I wanted the boar and the mouflon. And then Matty linked up with one of the other guides, Boyan, and he's done a fair bit with the red deer and stuff like that. Like they all know
everything.
They all know the different areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got matched with individuals. So like where Corey went and hunted, it's a good spot for the wolf, but it's also probably the best spot on the place for the mouflon. And also chamois. So, which we didn't actually know there was chamois there until we got there and seen chamois on the wall. And then they go, "Oh yeah," but they only get allocated 5 tags a year for that area.
Wow.
And they've already been like booked and allocated. So Corey had some mad stalks on chamois, got into 20 meters at one stage there, like give his guide his bow, stalked into 20 meters and just scared all these chamois
That's cool.
off the hill face.
Yeah.
And like that was like, and he goes from there, like the guide sort of went, yeah, righto, they've like got an understanding of each other. Because one of the first memories I had when we got there and we've all walked up with the bows, all the guides were talking in their language and they're all laughing.
Yeah.
And we're sort of going,
Here we go. For a week of nothing.
This isn't good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Sort of a bit off-put. And then, yeah, after day 2, sort of, there's a bit of a headbutt, and we sort of went, well, this is fucking bullshit. Like, we're doing the same thing again and again and again. We're not going to different places. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. I sat in a high hide the second afternoon and had a pretty good pig come in, like 120 kilo boar with probably 2 inches out the jaw, 1.5 inches, 2 inches out the jaw.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's me. I'm happy. Like, if I shoot that, I'll be over the moon. Then we can just focus on the mouflon. Like, I'm happy. And they go, no, it's too small. It's not old enough. It's only like a 4-year-old boar.
What?
So they want the boars to be sort of 7 years or older.
Yeah.
And they call them a Kyler. So that's the German, like in that German hunting language I talked about.
Yep.
That's what they call we call it a pisser, a rip snorter, a fucking giant, a cracker, all of that.
Yeah.
It's just a kite.
That sounds a bit more classy than ours.
Yeah. So just this like mature tank of a boar that like, and they're explaining this boar to me, and I'm like, you fucking shit me, because this thing's awesome. Like that's, got the big bristles, big shoulders, and they go, no, like a big one will be, it'll stand over that guy there and scare him off. They'll be 140 kilos, just all shoulders and big. And I'm trying to envision this thing, and I'm like, I think you fuckers are having me on here, eh? Like, I'm sure you've got a client next week that you want to shoot that pig and not let me shoot. So I was a bit fucking sulky, I suppose you'd say.
Mm-hmm.
We got back and sort of had a bit of a whinge, and Corey blew up, and like I've fucking done the same walk 3 fucking times to do the exact same thing, and we've seen fuck all. We need to do something different. And then trying to do that with the translator, and she's like, I have to, and he goes, no, you tell him exactly how I say it so they can understand. And then, so the translators are like having an argument, and the Bulgarian language, even if they're saying something really nice about each other, still sounds like they're cranky and aggressive. So it all sort of blew up and turned to shit. And not, I don't know. It wasn't what we were expecting to hunt. And then after that, the next day, we had a cracker of a day.
No way.
Like it was like we broke that ice, and then everything sort of just rolled on.
Yeah.
And then so I think Corey and his guide went on like a full day, missed like a big massive walk. They did like 16 odd Ks or something like that.
So they walked a different area to where they'd been already then.
They drove up a different track and like walked up across the tops and did all that. So I had a pretty good run. Like my guides were pretty good. I sort of went, this is what we're used to doing. This is what I want to do. And they sort of, righto, we'll do something similar. And it wasn't exactly what we'd normally do or what I'd normally do, but it was pretty close and cool. And we did that. And like I said, their guide did something different. And then that happened. They did this big walk, and it's like 16 Ks over there. 6 of it could be walking up a 45-degree mountain because it's just big, steep, gnarly country. And at the end of it, you're pretty buggered. So, we're all like on a high. Like he'd seen a few different animals, had that stalking on the chamois. Him and his guide were like getting on track with it. Matty had seen like the red stags, and he'd been in close, and just that, they did everything right, but the stag also did everything right. So just the shot didn't get sent away. And I think that day 3, the German guys had shot a good stag as well. So like we'd all come back, and then we did that, like the White Man Shale, and then the celebration song. We all had a drink, and everyone was on like bumped up. And we had a good third day. And then that, I went to a different place, like a 40-minute drive, to chase a Kyla, and they rang up one of the other, because the place we hunted is 52,000 acres, I think we roughly worked out. So like the territory, but within that, there's cities, there's other hunting club areas. There's, there's like it's crazy. Like you drive through a city and like a little town type thing, and that's all within the hunting as part of it. Like, so it's just, it's a different, it's a weird concept, because like literally you could be hunting at the back of someone's house and it's all completely fine and normal, and you're 100 meters from old Joe's back fence. Like, and so that's bizarre. Just, it's like say, that monastery falls in the middle of it. So like you could you could have been standing on the front door of the monastery and shot a red stag and be completely legal.
Wow.
And abiding by all the rules. So it's just a crazy culture shock. And so we went to this other place, met up with one of the other guides because it was his territory. So that was me, Vlad, and I didn't get the other guy's name. I only sort of did the one evening
with this guy,
with him. But so we went up into this thing, and he's going, there's a big one that comes in sort of right on dark, or 20 minutes after dark. We're like, yep, righto, sweet. I had the torch, had all that set up anyway. Yep. And then time's going on and nothing's happening. And then the bear come in, and then we're watching the bear through like night vision and IR and stuff like that, and that was pretty cool. And the bears went over. So it was a mum and 2 cubs. The mum was probably about 220 kilos, what they sort of estimated it on the hoof. So the brown bears they get there aren't like those like Kodiak and grizzlies, where they're, these giants. They're just a little bit bigger than a black bear.
Yep.
But they're a European brown bear is what the name for them is, I suppose. So, and like even they said a big male is like 300 kilos.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're not
as
big as them Yankee bears.
Yep.
Yeah, but like still, I ain't going to fight a fucking 200 kilo bear.
No, thank you.
You can stick that where the sun don't shine. So we like watched them for a bit, and then the pigs weren't really that affected by it. So we had like before the sun went down, a young mob like of teenage pigs again, so like 80 kilo pigs all in around feeding in this area where they threw corn out earlier in the day. And they kept all the corns kept 60, 70 metres off the side of this area in like a big steel bin with a steel plate on top with some bricks on it to stop the plate blowing off.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mama Bear just walks in, lifts the sheet of metal off, and then proceeds to help the two cubs into the bin.
No
so
way.
there's two cubs in this bin smashing the corn.
That's so good.
Mama Bear's like got hands on the edge, like leaning over with her head in the bin, eating corn. So like for probably half an hour, 45 minutes, I'm just staring at these things, fascinated.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Because I've never seen a bear in a while before, so it was an awesome experience. And this is all going on like 60 meters away from where we are. Like, so you can hear every grunt, every groan, every time they come out and sort of had a growl at the pigs. The pigs would start getting close because they were flipping a little bit of food out of the bin. So these pigs would come over and try and eat some of the corn, and the mama bear would like growl and the pigs would shoot off. And so it was just an awesome experience. When you say like you're paying for the experience, fuck man, so I was just having an experience there and doing that. So and then all of a sudden old mate goes, Kyla. And I'm like I started shaking and I'm like, fuck, we're on here. Like this is real. Like up to this point I'd not put an arrow on. I'd not have to I'd not had to do any of that sort of stuff. So it was all it was a bit of a surreal thing.
Do you want to take a pause here really quick? Because
if you,
I think it's valuable because a week before you left, you called me and I was like, "How you feeling?" And you're like, "Mate, I've actually had a bit of a shit show going on right now, in regards to a little bit of target panic coming back in."
It wasn't target panic. I was just shooting like a busted fucking asshole. It wasn't target panic. Like when I've had target panic in the past, I had it real bad at one stage. So I could have a Reinhardt at 20 meters, hit the bullseye with my first shot, and completely miss it on my second shot.
Yeah, wow.
Like
I'd shake like
I'd shake like a dog shit in razor blades. And just could not. And I'd hold the pin and anticipate and then be moving it to where I wanted it to be and then punching and grabbing a handful and just really, really ripping into me shot. And that nearly caused me to give up bow hunting, to be honest. Like I had probably a 3-month stint where I didn't hunt or didn't do anything because I'd go out and one critter I'd smoke and it'd be 20 yards piled up dead, and then the next critter, everything was right, and the arrow would be in the fucking rump of it. And I'm just left scratching my head, and I sort of went, nah. So I put the compound down. I picked the trad bow up for a bit of a change up. And that didn't pan out either because I can shoot a trad bow at a target like a mad dog, but put an animal in front of me. But the good thing with the trad bow, I never wounded anything. I either shot completely above them or completely under them. I never actually, all the things I've shot with the trad bow have all actually been really good shots, surprisingly. But yeah, so the second run back, I had this up and down, which when you talk to like Jack and Ash and them guys there, they go, yeah, that's a pretty sort of common thing. But I've come from wounding them with a compound. Then I started potentially wounded them with that, so I sort of just for fuck's sake. So I give up on that, picked the compound back up, went and sought the advice of Ian. He gave me a list of things to do and goes, it's probably going to take you 2 months to get on top of this. And me being me went, yeah, we'll fast forward this motherfucker. I'll get it knocked over in a week or two. I'm going hunting in 2 weeks. I want this shit sorted. So he goes, a month at best. He goes, He goes, you're realistically not hunting in 2 weeks. And I was like, no, you're fucking full of shit. So went over there. He gave me a whole heap of things to do and take the sight off the bow and like blind bail shoot and just understand your release. And by not aiming at anything, it doesn't give you any anticipation.
Yeah.
So you can really man's not a camel, in Ian's words. By doing that, you only focus on the execution of the shot. You're not actually worried about aiming. Your brain turns that part off, so there's no.
It's interesting. That's cool.
Pre-jitters.
Yep.
But you're supposed to do that for ages anyway. I did about 50 shots like that and felt really comfortable. Put my sight back on, went back to 20, 30, and 40, and bullseye. Sent him a photo and I go, I'm all fixed, mate. And he just sent back, I think it was fucking hell, Randy, with like the shruggy face. And a couple of days later, I was over at his place and I was back to shooting like a busted arsehole again.
Yeah.
And in that time, I'd spoken to a few other guys and, different release aids and stuff like that. And it was Benny Solaris that actually said, try a resistance. Like a few other people had mentioned it. Mm-hmm. But he said that was one of the things that he did and it made a world of difference for him. So, boom, straight down to Abbey, brought a resistance release, set it up, and I was fucking back. I was on. Yeah. And then prior to this trip, I'd started shooting back with an index activated thumb release again. Mm-hmm. I've been shooting with it for probably this whole year actually. Like I used the resistance for probably almost 4 years. Anyone that's got TP, I can't rate those resistance type release aids enough, or even just to throw one in as a training tool. Like,
that's what I use mine for.
It saved archery for me. Mm-hmm. Shooting this thumb thing, I've had a really good run up to this trip. I haven't had any like shit shots or any unanticipated shots and stuff like that. And I'm a big believer in change. Like change is a good thing when you mix up your release aids and I'd run this other one for so long. So went back. I was using it. I had a really good run. I changed to it because I was shooting 3 different bows, and the resistance you have to set it to each bow because every bow has a slightly different hold
at the back
thing.
Yeah, of course.
So I went to this other one because it's just the one release aid, thumb activated. I could use it on all 3 bows because I built like my normal hunting bow. In the rut this year, I used my old, the original OG 60-pound trying to shoot a buck with it. So, and then I had a new bow that I basically built with a Garmin Zero sight for a backup bow for Bulgaria. And also I just want a different bow and just mix it up and see. And the SR350, I've heard nothing but good things. So I was using this other release aid and I was shooting pretty good. And then about 2 weeks prior to Bulgaria, it all just crumbled and went to shit. And then I was trying to do different things, and I ended up, might have been 4 days before I flew out, and I was speaking to Ian about something else with the broadheads, and he's just like, how's all that going? And I went, well, actually, I'm up to shit. And he goes, yeah, last podcast you mentioned that you were using that other release aid, and then you said that. He goes, you fucking idiot. Go home, use your back tension release aid, put the other thing away, and just fucking stick to it. And I'm like, righto, Dad. Thanks, mate. Thanks. Come home. When Ian says something, you do it because the man just knows things. Yeah. So I come home, got there, put the target up at like 5 yards in the shed, set the resistance release to the setting for this bow, tweaked it a little bit, had a few shots, just basically blind shooting, not really aiming. Didn't change any of the sights, didn't change anything on the bow, then walked out 20 yards, 3 arrows, boom, 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 all like stacked on top of each other. Mm-hmm. I'm like, nah, it's just coincidence. Go back to 30, same thing, doop, 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 doop. And then back to, I think, 37 yards. That's the distance from my target to the back door of my house, and it's like a bit of a downhill shot. shot from there, and boom, 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 all 3 bullseyes, and I've just gone, fuck. Man, sent stuff through to Ian and rang him up, and I go, God, I love you and God, I hate you, you bastard. But you've got me back on track. And that was such a sigh of relief leading up to it.
Definitely.
I was not happy. I was losing sleep over it. So I'm like, fuck, I've got this hunt.
Imagine.
But we were supposed to go on this hunt a couple of years ago, but then COVID pushed it all back. So we're 3 years behind where we should have been. So this thing's like it's been a build for a long time. Tommy that was meant to come with us originally, he couldn't make it. So we had to, we tried to find a fill in. We couldn't find a fill in for the hunt. Then another fella, George, he's up in Mackay, Queensland. He jumped on just for the fallow side of the hunt. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of build up and a lot of lead up to this thing, and a bit of pressure on it. And when I come back from Bulgaria, I was going to Fraser Island, literally fly back into Sydney on the Saturday night at 10 p.m. and then Monday morning at 3 a.m. drive up to Fraser for 10 days up there. So I'd been doing all the prep for that as well. So my brain was all over the place. I was peaking and the bow not shooting. So I just had all this stress, and I was like, fuck, I'm not in a good spot. And then, all of a sudden, Uncle Ian's just giving me the right bit of advice.
Yeah.
I'm back on track, and I'm like, yes, we are on here. And yeah, man, I can't rate those back tension resistant style release aids enough. Mm-hmm. And so I did that. I was back on track. Shooting's perfect, and I'm like, fuck yeah. So I literally did that shoot, and then 2 days before the next Arvo, I come back. I had about 30 shots. 29 of the 30 were all perfect money shots, and I was like, sweet. I put the bow away, and I'm like, I'm not touching it again. I'll worry about the Fraser shit.
Yeah.
And then so
right.
Back to me.
So zoom back in, Kyla.
Back to me.
Kyla, here we go.
Yes. So now we and we're back in.
Yeah.
So this thing's come walking in from the back, and my jaws hit the ground because it's twice the size of these 80-kilo boars that I thought were big pigs. And I'm like, I poked this guy, the Vlad, that was, he could speak English. And I go, now I understand what a Kyler is. Holy, look at that thing. It's a fucking brute. And it's come in and it's just walked straight past the bear. The bear's growled at it and it didn't even flinch.
No way.
It's just walked straight past. And then come in and just walked straight in and just pushed any pig that was in its way out and got to where it wanted to feed and stuff like that. And it was, I think about 35 meters from us. Mm-hmm. And this is 8:30 at night or something like that. So it's pitch black now, a little bit of moonlight, and then on the thing they've got a light on a post which just gives you a bit of you could call it mood lighting, I suppose. Mm-hmm. For the rifle hunters, that's where they shoot them back under there because they put the baits further back, but because they had bow hunters, they put the feed sort of closer just to try and get them in that bit closer.
Yeah.
So then we worked out a bit of a game plan, and I go, righto, I'll come back to full draw, and I'll give you a nod, and then you turn the torch on to the pig because I couldn't get my torch to work off the front of the bow how I wanted it to. For whatever reason, it was facing slightly right and slightly high of where my aiming point is. The light was illuminating a different spot, so I couldn't use it off my bow and trigger it myself.
Yeah.
So me and Vlad are down on these stairs halfway down the side. There's a bear that we can hear feeding and groaning and carrying on. I've come to full draw. The lights come onto this pig, and he came in a bit closer, so he's about 30. He might have been 28 metres, actually. He was 28 metres because I set me single pin to 28 metres. Mm-hmm. And turned me little illuminator on for the pin.
Yep.
And I was like, yep, sweet. So I've come back and I'm like, yep, sweet. Give him the nod. The lights come on. He sort of seen the light, got a bit agitated and moved.
Is it a white light or a green light?
2 steps out. Green light. So this is a green light. were recommended a green light. And he sort of moved out and agitated a bit and then turned again. And I sort of just, like anyone that shot the resistance release will understand, once you commit to the shot, you're committed.
Mm-hmm.
And my thumb's off the safety and I'm starting to pull through and I'm almost getting to the point, and then he just moved real quick and took a beeline. So I've sort of grabbed the safety and dropped the draw of my bow real quick. And they ran off. All the pigs sort of scattered from the light. From them scattering, it spooked the bears. The bears moved the sheet of tin and then scared everything out of the way. And then we're just like, fucking old mate goes, no, they'll come back. And yeah, righto. So 20 minutes goes by and the smaller ones come back in, and then the big fella comes back in, and same sort of thing. Just so the bears are gone, then we didn't see them again. And this big fella's just walked in. He's come back into the same sort of spot again there, and he's at about 30 metres this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, fuck, I can't adjust my pin because I can't turn a light on out here because it'll spook them. There's not enough light to see. So I'm like, righto, I just need to aim a touch low.
Yeah.
A touch high. I just need to be a touch high. He's at 30. And then probably 5-10 minutes of cat and mouse and him like turning, other pigs being in the way. And he eventually come around to a spot where he was sort of not full quartering away, but not full broadside, like that in between, with his front leg forward, like open. And I'd come to full draw, give the nod, the light come on, and he's still, the light come on, and I'm part the way through my shot. And then he moved off and I caught the shot, and like I literally would say I was like a millisecond,
Jesus.
like we're talking hundredths of a second of this thing. And like everything felt good. Like if that shot had I executed, I would have been 1,000% like, he's going nowhere. It's Smoke City. And yeah, so that's happened, and they've meandered off this time. They didn't go too far, but they just moved out of the way. Some of the smaller pigs didn't even leave the spot.
Mm-hmm.
He's moved out, and then he came back in, but then he came back in and started feeding around the bin where the bears were at like 60 yards, 60 metres, just picking up whatever they dropped around the edges and stuff like that. And then that was another sort of half an hour or so of just waiting, and he eventually came back over into the thing. And then, yeah, same sort of thing, waited, and he got into a position. Then there was pigs in the way, and it all taken its time. And then, he sort of moved into a spot, and I went to hit the little thing to illuminate me pin.
Mm-hmm.
Battery's gone flat on that.
Oh my God.
I'd only just put new batteries in before leaving home.
Yeah.
So I was like, for fuck's sake, this is just all turning against me. I'm like, no, we're here now, we're doing this, I'm getting it done. Like this is it. So he's 30, he was 32 meters on this, like when I ranged him for this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, right, sweet. I put my pin that little bit higher than 1/3 the way up him. That'll allow, because my pin's set at 28. All good. I'm like, yeah, righto. So I've come back, I sort of settled, and with the bit of mood ambient light I could see, and without the illumination, I could see the pin more clearly because there wasn't that glow, like annoying glow.
Mm.
And I was like, this is actually nicer than what it was last time. And I give the nod, the light come on, and he didn't really move this time as much. Like he put his head up and looked, and then head back down and kept feeding on the ground. I've gone through, executed my shot. He's reacted on the shot, like dropped and rolled out of the way.
Yeah.
So Vlad that's next to me, he's watching through the night vision, and then the other guy in the tower is looking like through his binoculars, and he could see most of it. And I knew I'd shot a bit high, like I shanked it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I was like, fuck, I hit him a bit higher, but I still think we're good. Like it'll be high lung.
Yeah.
I'm thinking high lung anyway. And then like I asked, and the Vlad goes, yeah, I think it was good. He goes, you're a bit high, but it should be good. And sort of, we'll give it, 5-10 minutes and just see what's happening. And then Vlad had he's got a blood trailing dog, so they follow blood trails.
Yeah.
And he was like 10 minutes back at the bit of a cabin thing. So he went back and got that. Me and the other guy just stayed there and waited. And then went over to where I'd shot him and looking around, and you could see like bigger, heavier tracks and stuff going one way. So went over there and he got the blood trailing dog out. Never found the arrow that night.
Was there much blood?
And did a bit of a look around. We didn't find blood that night. And then we're looking like with the torch, and like they both got their guns loaded with the torch, like held, walking around, because they go, these things will attack you. Like he goes, the scariest thing in Bulgaria is a kyler.
I was going to say that before, bears, right? Like 140 kilo boar or more versus like that 300 kilo bear. Like, I don't know. It'd almost be a bit scarier with their aggression.
I'll get to a little thing with that in a bit, but so we're walking around and looking, can't find any blood. Oh, fuck me, here we go. I've fucked this up, because they have like rules over there. You draw blood, you pay. And straight away, that was one thing that was part of it, was on our minds the whole time, was this: you draw blood, you got to pay, which is a foreign thing for us normally, because you do a shit shot, you feel bad about it, you regret it, but there's no like monetary thing, and it's you're talking serious coin on stuff like this. Like you're potentially talking about a $3,000 arrow, so you're like, fuck,
wow,
righto. So we had a bit of a look, we didn't find nothing, and we all just went, we'll come back tomorrow and have a proper look. How
was that sleep?
Sleep?
Yeah.
What's sleep?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I got back, and most of the other boys, because so he came in at 8:30. I fired my shot at 10:20, and we left there at 11:30 for like a 45-minute drive back. So we rolled back in at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning sort of thing. The translator actually stayed up and waited for me to get back, and just, here's your food, I'm going to bed. I was like, thanks, fucking, you're a legend. I wasn't expecting anyone. I wasn't expecting dinner. I was just expecting to come back, go and have a shower, have a nice strong rum, and try and console myself to sleep. And the time difference and stuff worked out all right. So I was messaging a few people back home just to take my mind off things. And I probably got 2 hours of sleep. It was like 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'll meet you back here. So alarm was set for like 4:30 to wake up, get changed, go and have a 3-course meal for breakfast, and went back down. And we got there, and old man had his blood trail and dog, and the other guy that we went with, he was back there already, and he'd found blood. So we got there, and I was like, oh, sweet, we got blood. We're going to be good here. Old mate's got the blood trailing dog, and like, mind you, the blood trailing dog's a very young dog, so it's only ever trailed one other trail before. So we weren't 100%, but it was like, it's better than nothing.
Definitely, yeah.
So we're there, find the blood, and straight away I was like, fuck, this is not ideal. Like it's a darker red blood. There's a couple of little bubbles in it, but it's not that good. Anyway, followed the blood for 100 odd meters, and it sort of dried up and stopped. And at that point, the track went in like 3 different directions. So we're like, fuck, what do we do here? So then another phone call was made, and another fellow had come out with 2 dogs that are they're bloodhounds, but basically they just pick up like the scent of a boar or an animal. Like one of them's he used it to trail a wolf that had a client shoot a wolf bad, and it tracked this wolf 2.4 kilometers through the snow. Yeah, wow. And they eventually like followed it. It bailed this wolf up. They shot it, and so like it's a folklore like hero dog sort of thing, because you don't really get many dogs that'll track a wolf. So anyway, they come out and we'd sort of done we spent 6.5 hours
Oh my God.
looking.
Yeah.
Like grid search, followed every sort of pad, and then got to points where it was like just super steep, and we went righto, like because he'd ran around the side of a mountain, and up the top it got really steep, and we're like righto, he couldn't pass up there, so he has to be like he had to have passed down at this point here. There's a couple of other little tracks, but they didn't look used and it didn't look good enough, so we went righto. So we looked everywhere. These other dogs come out. Spent ages, never ended up finding anything.
Oh my dude.
Pretty busted, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, righto. So pulled the pin on that, and he goes, old mate's going to come back tomorrow because tomorrow was Saturday, and he goes, he was going to go for a hunt anyway on a driven hunt. He goes, he's going to come back here tomorrow, and they'll go and they'll come in a different way and go from a different angle, he said, because around the side of the mountain there's another bit of a meadow, and he goes, maybe he's run around and got in that meadow and that's where he's pulled up or whatever. And I was like, oh, righto. I was like, you guys know, like, I've accepted that I've stuffed the shot up and I'm going to have to pay for this thing and it's not happening, and all you can do is sort of accept it, sulk about it and move on. And I was like, righto, we'll go and chase a Mouflon now and whatnot. So, yeah, drove back.
So this is the
went
end
out
of day
that afternoon.
3 or end of day 4?
This is day 3 now.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is, so I shot him at the end of day 2.
Yeah.
Day 3, I spent the day looking basically.
Yeah. Wow.
And then by the time we got back, had about an hour of light left. And Richo goes, we'll go back up because now I've wounded one, so there's a bit of doubt that the bow can actually kill anything over there between these guys. And and I'm going, fuck, man, like I'm going through photos and I'm going, shot 100 of these things before, like obviously not that big, but it's effective, it works, Anyways, he goes, well, there's a management sow at one of the high seats. So basically it's like a sow that's not got piglets, and she's not had piglets like through the season, and she should have them by now. So they're presuming that she's barren. Yeah. So they call it a management type sow because they don't want them there. Like it's not making any more babies. It's not benefiting them anyway. So it's one that they get, someone that comes out and just wants to shoot one for a bit of meat or something like that, they can shoot. And he goes, do you want to go have a look for that? And I was like, yeah, why not? Fuck it. I need redemption. I went back, shot me bow. Everything's perfect. And I'm like, fuck, I fucked that up. So we went back. Fucking got back just in time. Shot back up to this other high seat, got in within half an hour of being there. This particular one had come in. Then it took about 25 minutes just to get her at the right spot without other pigs either in front or behind of her. So like if the shot went through or wasn't wounding one of these other potential pigs and whatnot. And yeah, she eventually put herself in a good spot, like 24 meters, dropped the hammer, absolutely pinwheeled. And they were like, we'll sit and wait for, 10, 15 minutes because anything they know about bow hunting was just from watching Americans on YouTube.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I was like, grab your shit now, man. She's going nowhere. She's going to go 40 meters, if that. Yeah. Like, because shot felt good. Everything felt good. I knew I'd hit where I wanted to. I looked like the arrow passed through. I looked at the arrow. The arrow was just coated in blood. And I'm like, this is a fucking slam dunk. Anyways, and they're like, we'll wait. And I'm like, we don't have to. He goes, well, just 5 minutes. And I was like, righto, make you feel better. We'll wait 5 minutes. Yeah. So I did that, went down, went over, and I picked the arrow up and I go, look at this shit, man. That's going nowhere. Mm-hmm. And then straight away blood. And I'm like, this is what we needed to find this morning. If we found that, we find pig. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, righto. Anyway, about 30 meters, she's dead up on the side of this fucking hill. Yeah. Go up. Old mate's like, good job, because 37 years he'd never seen anything shot with a bow. So,
So crazy.
and he's just like, whoa, that's crazy. Like how effective it was. And I'm like, when we do our part and put it in the right spot, it's very effective. Because he goes, we've had gun shooters, like rifle shooters, with the pigs go further, the animals go further, just because they haven't hit that perfect sweet spot and knocked it out. And I said, look, it kills different ways, and this is the equivalent of going up and sticking it at the end of it. Like you shoot it with a rifle and it's dead, but it's not actually, its organs aren't shut down yet. It's in a state of shock, or its brain shut down from the massive impact, but you still have to stab it. I go, with the bow, you don't have to do that. When you get it, it's dead. Like it's dead. Everything, it dies from loss of blood. And so got it, set it all up. There's like, that's cool, awesome, Then we throw it in the back of the truck, because they, like all the meat, anything that gets shot there, they butcher and process, and they sell the meat back to the community or whatever they do with it.
That's so cool.
So I was like, sweet, no dramas. Like I'd come back, I was on a high, like I just shot this 80-kilo sow. Like it's a lump of a pig, and then you're like, fuck, so those boars are probably 100 kegs. You're like, fuck, righto. Anyway, go back to camp. The other boys had a pretty good sort of run, same thing, just the opportunities were there. They just didn't do everything right. Next morning we went out, did a big walk looking for Mouflon, ended up, so this is day 4, found a Mouflon that's actually of big enough size and legal, like size to hunt and stuff like that, because they've got a minimum that they have to be not set in place by the government, just set in place by the lodge, because they had that big loss of Mouflon a couple of years ago. So they've got a pretty strict, whereas the last Aussies that had went there, they didn't have such a strict thing. So they'd all shot these like basically teenage Mouflon, and there's a change and just a lot of rules in place about shooting quality animals.
This is the first shootable one that you guys had seen at all across all 3 hunters?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, so this is the first shootable one I'd seen. Where Matt was hunting, that wasn't an area that's known for him.
Okay.
And Corey thinks he saw 2 shootable ones on the first day. I'd seen 2 like teenage ones that would have been like, I would have been happy to shoot them, but they weren't big enough or old enough. Like they're sort of standard in their level. So I was like, righto, no dramas, we'll do that. And then, seeing this one there, and we're like, righto, make a bit of a plan. And then by the time we made a bit of a plan and get off this face we were on and around and back onto it, he was just gone, nowhere to be seen. Never even ended up getting a stalk in on him. It just, they were feeding down into this thick shit, and it just unaccessible sort of country. Didn't even end up getting a thing on that. So we're heading back to the car. We're driving back, and old mate got a phone call, and they go, they found your pig, they found your boar. And I'm like,
dude.
I'm like, oh, sweet, let's go. And like, it was a pretty shit reception, because we were up in the never-nevers there, and he goes, we'll get back to camp and we'll work it out there and whatnot. And I'm like, if we can, I'll go back, sort of thing. Like, we didn't know the backstory of it. And then as we got a bit closer, he got a phone call, and they go, like filled in on the whole story. And he goes, yeah. So he goes, they found that it's about 600 meters. Like he goes, another 100 meters from where you guys were looking is where it ended up being.
No way.
So it's about 600 meters from where I'd shot it is where they found it. So I hit him high, and it broke the top of his rib. He's dropped and rolled, and it's hit him high, top of his rib, and just nicked a bit of his lung, which I would say he'd survive and would have lived to fight another day. But they have like rules around there that if it's a wounded pig, because there's people that walk these trails and stuff like that, they have to do everything they can to get it, because it's wounded. They get angry, and they're like, they have more interactions with boars attacking and hurting people than they do bears.
Wow.
So, and like, yeah, righto. And then he's like, and it killed one of the dogs.
Oh.
And I'm like, and what? And I'm like, And he goes, yeah, they had the GPS tracker on, and they said the dog got to this certain point, and then the GPS tracker just didn't move from there. And then they got near there, and then the other dog picked up blood about 50 meters, found the pig, and old mate went in and shot it. So it wasn't dead, like it was still it was just laying up, doggo, and pissed off. And this other and they went back to where the other dog was, and they said he sort of bedded up in this thing, and the other dog had just gone in, and it just come out. And they don't use plates or any protective stuff on the dogs, they literally it's just the dog.
Yeah, wow.
So then we find all that out, and fucking
Oh, man.
So
it wasn't like the bloodhound that was the.
No, it wasn't the folklore wolf dog thing, legend.
Yeah.
If that one had been done, I probably would have had to leave Bulgaria then and there and miss me fallow hunt, because old mate might have tried to bloody knock me, leave me in the hills with the pig. But so I was like, fuck, I'm bummed about that. I'm sorry for old mate for his dog. I'm like, fuck, I'd rather have he's not found it, me not have it, pay the fee, and not have anything to show for it apart from just the story of fuck the shot up and whatnot. But so that all went down, and then I'm like, oh, so what's and he goes, oh, they just cut the head off and dragged it back. And I'm like, oh, for fuck. So I didn't even get to go and do the cape or any of that stuff, or see it or get photos with it. And they over there for them, the photo with the actual animal is not a big thing. They'll drag it back, they'll gut it, drag it back to the lodge, and out the front of the lodge they have a spot where there's a heap of green grass and leaves. They put a leaf in its mouth and give it its last feed as a bit of a respect thing. And that's the only photo with the animal they get. And then the main photo is with the plaque.
Just the animal itself with some grass in its mouth or something.
Yeah, pretty much. That's it. Yeah, and they're just in the photo. They're not there with it and all tucked in and stuff. It's just the photo with it to give it its last meal.
Yeah.
But the main one they want is when the trophy's boiled out, and on the plaque they get a little silver, gold, or a bronze medal, and this plaque. Looks really cool. I've got a photo of one there. I'll put it up on Instagram about the time this all comes out, and I'll put more photos up that all relate to this, so it'll tie in. But and them holding that's their trophy. So for them, that's a normal thing.
Just to chop it off.
Whereas for us, it's just to chop it off, because all they want is the hooks, the grinders and the hooks. The rest of it's not of any importance, the skull, none of that. But my only photos of that pig are literally the chopped off head back out the front of the hunting lodge, and old mate's got 3 live photos of it in the daylight when it was there at one point before I shot it, with some other pigs. So that's all the photos I've got of that particular one there. So a bit spewing, and got the translator trying to explain fuck, we didn't want you to lose a dog. It put a real dampener on it, and sort of that ended up finishing me stuff in Kermasosh.
God,
I was just
I'm done. Mass emotion. Yeah, just even before you got to the fallow.
Highs, lows.
Holy shit.
But when we said, explained it to the Germans, they were just like, oh, Ladmenschale, very good. Good Kayla. It was perfectly normal and accepted for them.
Oh my God.
How that all went, how that all played out. And then we're asking, them guys there were like, oh, is this normal to lose a dog and stuff like that? And they go, oh yeah, it happens all the time. This is on a driven hunt, they might have 20 dogs, and it's a pretty common, expected, standard thing to lose one at least every time they go for one of these.
Wow. You think that they would bring in some form of armor for them, right?
Well, we've got so much of it here that we use, and but and then we're talking to the guys that were there, and the guy had obviously lost his dog. He was he was a bit of a mess and whatnot. And the other guy that was there goes, it's one of the biggest bodied Kylers he's ever he'd ever come across. Like he goes anywhere from 170 to 190 on the hoof.
What?
Like this thing's just fucking huge.
Holy shit.
So I'm on the low and on a down from that, and then I'm just sort of bumming around in camp, moping. Boys went out that afternoon, and I did go out, but I just went back to one of the stands and took the camera just to take some photos of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm done. Pack me bar up. I'm like, I'm done here. I'm not doing any more. And we had the option to hunt the next morning as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm done. I'm finished here. Like this is me. I'll wait till we get to the next. I'll wait till we get to student clarinets and yeah. And then that afternoon, Corey come back and he shot a so in a spot where it's not like, because I think on day 2 or day 3 he asked me, he goes,
it just cut out.
Oh, sorry. So
he said, sorry, Corey came in and shot a cracker. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah. So he came in and shot a cracker, big Kyler, smoked it.
That's so good.
They had it in the back of the ute. Like it was all there.
Oh, wow.
So then like the down emotions were back up high and partying and and the day before he'd asked his guy, he goes, do you get many like Kylers here? And he goes, nah, never. Very rare. Anyways, probably an hour or 2 of daylight left. Shot this absolute giant.
So good.
And he was sat up in one of the high seats and watched it walk in from like 250 meters out. So he's got some photos of it like walking in and absolutely pickled this thing. It went like 30, 40 yards.
Dude, that's huge.
Rolled over and it was like 140, 150 kilo.
Dude, that's so crazy. In regards to the hooks and stuff on these guys compared to like the hooks that you guys get back at home, what's sort of comparative difference?
Really? Very similar.
Not super thick or anything like that in comparison?
A bit heavier.
Yeah.
Like a bit thicker, but how they look out the jaw and stuff like that, it doesn't look like, I think the one surprising. Corey shot, we're estimating it's probably going to be around that 30-point mark.
Yep.
The one I shot probably around 27, 28 Douglas. Again, we don't know what they're going to pull, but that's the thing. Like,
true.
Like we're just sort of gauging from what we're used to, whereas what over there is just a completely different. I don't know. Like we never boiled it out because mine was on the afternoon of day 3 and Corey's was afternoon. I got it the morning of day 4 and Corey's afternoon of day 4. So by the time we'd finished our stuff and they weren't boiled. Whereas if it was like day 1, they would have boiled them and we could have like measured it and stuff there and whatnot. So
in regards to that was, like their practice being Euro mounting it essentially straight away, what happens? Like, did Corey, he decided to shoulder mount it or what's he doing with his?
Yeah, so he's got the cape and stuff like that. He's undecided whether he's going to go a full Euro or a shoulder.
Yeah. Because
he actually come back and he goes, I got the cape for you, for yours. And I went, no, I don't want the cape. Like, I'll do it the traditional, like, because it's all sort of went down that traditional way that they do it with, the shooting it, just lopping its head off and doing that stuff. And I just went, when in Rome, I'm going to stick to that thing and roll with it. And I'll put I'll get his tusks mounted on their board thing that they have, and do it all that way there. And then, probably talk to Vlad, the guy from over there, and work out the name of old mate's dog that got lost and just get that engraved in the bottom or something like that of it, just as a bit of
that's nice.
A memento and a respecty thing and
definitely
whatnot. Because even now, just talking about it, I still feel like a piece of shit. Because
it's obviously not on you, but at the same time, like that, that's painful.
Yeah, it's shit. But they all sort of said it's a pretty standard and a pretty common thing over there to happen, but it's just, I don't know. It don't sit right with me the way that it all went down. So it's a bit of a a bit of a low point or a sore point in it all, but I went there to shoot one. I got an arrow into one.
Just wasn't the outcome we wanted.
Yeah, like it wasn't that perfect, clean, ethical kill. Like he probably would have died on the mountain in a few days' time, a slow and agonising death. Because
it's crazy. He stayed at 600 meters, right? And you said what? That was 2 days later now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So that was the next morning. So like if you had to go in hours, probably like 30-something hours from when I shot him to when they found him. So
he was obviously pretty hurt up then in that sense. If he hasn't bothered to travel.
His rib was broken and pressing into the top of his lung. Like, so the way that his rib had broken, the broadhead was still like lodged in the top of him. So it had like cut a section of the top of his lung, but also the rib was like pushing into it as well. So it was, from the blood at first I went, no, it's not going to be a lethal shot. And then when they, because they cut back to have a look and see what it had done, and old mate had the photos on his phone, and I tried to get him sent, but just it didn't work out. He never sent them photos. He just sent me the photos of it alive. So, unfortunately, I'll probably never get them photos to see. But it would have eventually killed him, but it could have been 3 or 4 days time. Like wolves may have got him before he died of the shot as well. But so
I guess that's the other thing, right? Like predators in that sense over there, they do have to kind of hide up when they're injured, because if they're sticking around wherever, if they just out and out, it's more likely that they will get attacked.
Yeah, that's right. So, and it also worked out slightly better on my back pocket, because if they don't find it and you pay for the wounded, you pay for the maximum size that you wanted to shoot as the wounding fee sort of thing.
The maximum size that you wanted to shoot, or that's there?
So they estimated on the hoof. So they've got photos and they go, righto, it'd be, let's call it a 22 centimetre boar, which is €1,700, the trophy fee. And it's, it's this and this and that. So they go, it would have been a €2,000 trophy. So you cop the bill for that.
Got you.
Even though they never find it and they can't prove it. Whereas when it's on the ground and you go, it's only a 20 centimetre, it's this, that, the other. So the trophy fee is only €1,300 or something like that. So
what did your fee?
It works out better for my
end up being.
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Don't know yet.
But what did they say it was going to be? 2,000 was what they'd said. Like, hey,
with the wounding thing, it was going to be somewhere around that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, not the greatest outcome, but it is what it is. So,
had they told you about the wounding fee before you even went out hunting?
Yeah. We knew that. Like going prior, we knew that there was fees and stuff involved, and that all come about because of last year or the year before, at the student clarinets place. So, leading up to this, they were almost going to ban bow hunting back over there because of a group of Americans they wounded. We never got a straight answer. One person said 8 and the other guy said 10. But then we're piecing it together because they found 2 of the wounded deer. So we're not sure if it was 10, but because they found 2, they didn't class them as wounded. They classed them as found deer. But basically, they shot and lost 10 animals, and then from that they recovered 2 at a later date. 3 days later they walked in, smelt something funky and found it, or however it ended up happening. But basically, they had a group of Yanks that just put carbon in the air every chance that they got, and wounded a whole heap of stuff, and didn't tell them about ones that were wounded, and then they'd come back with no arrows and quivers, and
Jesus Christ.
So the rules sort of changed a bit. So we had these new strict rules in place when we got to student clarinets. But yeah, just to go back to the other side, so that pretty much ended our Kermasosh. So yeah, I ended up with the boar. But yeah, that sequence of events, Corey ended up smoking a fucking cracker, and Harry just did everything right, and the deer did everything right, and just never got an opportunity on the reds. But yeah, had a good hunt, had opportunities every time, and going back, I'd go back and hunt the reds just because of the numbers and stuff like that, like the opportunities that you get chasing the reds, and because they're that smaller size, the trophy fee's not ridiculous, but you still get to hunt them in that traditional, like, you know, where they're from and the natural place for them. And man, the country and the experience is just fucking something else. Like,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you have to. It'd almost be worth going over and doing the red deer hunt, having a week off somewhere else, going to Ibiza or Greece or somewhere like that. That's a bit more of a holiday place.
Yeah.
And then going back and doing the fallow. Like if you wanted to mesh a trip up over there, that'd be, probably the way to do it. But yeah, and then from there we across to student clarinets.
So before we go there, for Harry, how much did he pay in regards to going but not hunting? Sorry, not actually shooting something versus you guys for that part of the trip.
All right. So here's some screenshots I took of our thing. So the hunt itself isn't actually that terrible. So it was 3 days, 4 nights was $1,290. And then we had an additional day, which is $290. So 13. So just $1,580.
Yeah.
Was Harry's thing there for that?
That's Australian. 1580 or 15.
No, that's euro. Okay. That's euro.
I'll do the conversion.
So
again.
it's so you're probably looking at
just under 3.
About 27.
Probably. Yeah.
If my math's close.
26. You did pretty well.
Yeah. So and then on top of that, there's like it's not an expectation, but there is an expectation to tip your guides and the house staff.
Okay.
But then that also varies on, like, if you go over as a multi-billionaire, oil tycoon, they expect a
good tip,
a bigger tip. And if you're just a Aussie battler like us, they don't really expect much. So I think we tipped our guides €100.
Okay.
And
they were happy?
The house. Well, they weren't getting any fucking more, so there wasn't any more to give. No, they were happy with that. Like I think they understood that we weren't, like, not millionaires rolling in it.
I mean, still,
and as we said, this is a trip that we'd saved on and stuff like that. And like for them, that €100 is probably 3 days' wage or something like that. So it's still nothing to balk at. And then I think we give €50 to the house staff and 50 to our translator.
Yeah,
through the thing. And like the translator was the one that explained it and sort of said, look, it is expected, but it's not expected. And what you give is based on, what you can afford. Like there isn't a set spreadsheet for what you should be tipping and what you shouldn't be tipping and stuff like that. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's always interesting whenever you go to any new country. You're like, what is the tip? Like, do you tip? Do you not? And then when we were in Bahamas, because it's all at the same time, right? They actually charge the tip on the bill already. Then they also ask you for another tip on top. You're like, you cheeky little buggers. Because it's resort living. They're on an island.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Like,
yeah, so they're double tapping you.
Yep. And so once we found that out and we kind of talked to a few locals, he's like, oh, yeah, no, you don't have to tip. Don't tip here. He's like, if you go into town, then you tip because they don't charge you a tip on top. I'm like, cheeky little fuckers. But
they don't factor that in.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're always India. So.
So that's actually pretty reasonable
and then
pricing wise.
It's not, like I said, it's not the most expensive overseas hunt, but it's definitely not the cheapest overseas hunt. If you're looking for something to cut your teeth on, New Zealand's the go, because that's
Definitely.
a couple of grand and you're over there. You can do your own DIY hunt over there for, I would at a guess probably you get changed from 4K for if there's 2 or 3 years going, you split the cost of a helicopter, or if you walk in, it's pretty crazy. Just try and turn that.
Yeah, I honestly think
I don't even know how to do this.
New Zealand or a Hawaiian hunt's going to be my first one, because I'm probably pretty sure I'm going to have to take the old family with me when I go, and they're 2 locations that I know my wife wants to go to. So I'm like, hey, I'll tie that on.
New Zealand's awesome. The only problem with NZ is most of the places you want to hunt aren't exactly the places you want to do your holidaying
Family
at.
trips. Yeah.
Because me and Corey tossed that up, and he goes, "Yeah, next trip, let's go there. We'll take the kids and the family. We'll get like a camper van and go and do all that." And I sort of went, "Well, Cooktown's where all the fun shit is for the family and all of that."
Queenstown.
That's where all like the fun shit is and all the adventure stuff. And like from Queenstown, I had my honeymoon there with the wife, and it's a mad place, but I'm sure there is some hunting around there. But where we chased the tar and stuff was back down towards Mount Cook, which is like ski resorts and just massive, like awesome trout fishing, awesome hunting, awesome skiing, but that's sort of it. Like unless you want to go and see little villages and stuff like that, and
definitely,
whatnot. That's probably
we've got friends over there.
Postcard.
So I'd leave the wife and kids with the friends, and then bow out.
Well, the other thing you got to factor into is different times of the year over there. So I did a hunt over there a couple of years back in November, and we're supposed to get helicoptered in, and we had shit wind and then shit snow. So our 6-day hunt ended up being a 2-day hunt that we could fly in for, and the other stuff we just ended up like going in by foot. And you can spend half a day just walking into the places. Especially when they have a cold snap, it pushes all the bulls back up onto the snow edges because of the insects and all that stuff. And like the guy we went with at the time, he's going, "Mate, last weekend I had rifle shooters shooting them at 50 metres here in the creek. That was, a 45-minute walk from the car to where we got to." And like we got to those spots, and then we're looking at tar, and they're, still a kilometre away or 500 metres away, but 500 metres in New Zealand. Well, to get there, that 500 metres here, you've got to go a kilometre across there, a kilometre up there, and then 2 kilometres back here, and then half a kilometre back up. Like there might not be a track into them or whatever it is. It's not as straightforward as just, oh yeah, we'll just go and kill that one. You can't just go straight at them. And I learned you got to come above them. If you try and come underneath, they pin you every time. And it's no fun. It's not much fun. So, helicopter. Next time I go to NZ, I'm paying the thing for a helicopter and getting dropped off on top of the mountain, so I don't have to
walk up.
Well, you start from so we basically walked up the creek, found them from below, glassed them, and then made a bit of a plan on how to bow hunt them. If you went with a rifle, you could just shoot them from the creek. So I shot one on the last day walking out at 380 metres, and it was, we were 25 minutes from the car, and from seeing the tar to shooting it was all of 3 minutes. Like it was just, oh yeah, there's one there. Rangefinder 380. Oh, what's the gun zeroed for? 350. Put a bag down, get a real comfy rest, and just, and oh yeah. And then the one I shot ended up dying in a spot that you couldn't access. So, yeah, I have a great run with my overseas hunts. It's just,
apparently.
I'm nearly ready to give them up. So just, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. That's just how it works for me, man. But
the Randy curse. So
the experience.
Exactly.
Oh, the experience, man.
Yeah. So the second location, how far was it from the first one?
2.5, 3 hours.
Okay. Which is like half a country, right, when you're over there?
Yeah,